public hearing on the proposed Senate Resolution number 611, authored by Senator De Lima, 618 by Senator Pangilinan, and 619 by Senator Marcos. Senate resolution. We will be joined by the Committee on Trade and Industry, led by Senator Pimentel, and Committee on Sustainability, led by Senator Cayetano. Okay. So resolution number 611, it's a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the alarming increases in the prices of basic commodities such as pork, fish, and vegetable, with the end in view of implementing urgent measures that will control and manage the cost of these basic commodities that pose a threat to the right to food of Filipinos and affect the fragile condition of many Filipino households. Senate Resolution 618 by Senator Pangilinan, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the rising food prices with the end in view of determining the necessary interventions to stabilize the prices and ensure that every Filipino consumer has access to adequate and affordable food. And lastly, Senate Resolution 619, resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the causes of soaring prices of food, and thus urge the Department of Agriculture to explain the status in the implementation of the stimulus program provided under RA number 11494, otherwise known as the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, and the failure of the Department of Trade and Industry to efficiently implement RA number 75A1, otherwise known as the Price Act, authored by Senator Marcos. So, in this hearing, we shall look into the issue of the rising cost of basic commodities, food especially, that pose a threat to the right to food of Filipinos. The reported lack of enough supply of basic food items that is affordable, adequate, accessible, and safe. We shall also look into the implementation of Bayanihan 2, the Bayanihan to Recover Act by the Department of Agriculture, and RA 75A1 or 81 or the Price Act by the Department of Trade and Industry. The Committee on Agriculture and Food shall be joined by the Committee on Trade and Industry and the Sustainable Committee at the same time. I wish to welcome Senator Kiko Pangilinan, Senator Amy Marcos, Senator Risa Hontiveros, Senator Nancy Binay. Okay? Natawag ko na ba lahat? Okay. And from the government executive department, we have Secretary Dar, Engineer Yusek Kayanan, Yusek Visera, Yusek Medrano, Yusek Cheryl Marie Natividad Caballero, Yusek Ernesto Gonzalez, ASEC Christine Evangelista, ASEC Federico Lasiste, Engineer Arnel de Mesa, Dr. George Colaste, Director, Bureau of Plant Industry, Director Realden Morales, OIC, Director, Bureau of Plant Industry, Director Eduardo B. Gangona, Director, Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Dr. Jocelyn Salvador, OIC Director of the National Meat Inspection Service, Dr. Lisa Basad, Assistant Secretary, representative to the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries, Dr. Ramon Yedra, Director, Agribusiness and Marketing Assistance Service. Dr. Samuel Castro, BAI ASF Task Force. Secretary Ramon Lopez, Secretary Carlos Dominguez, Secretary Menardo Guevara, represented by Ramon Lopez will be represented by ASEC Anne-Claire Cabuchan and Yusek Ruth B. Castelo. Secretary Dominguez, no representative yet. Secretary Menardo Guevara, represented by State Council Rosalie Cumla. Secretary Chua, represented by Director Nerva Natural, Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Environment Staff, NEDA. Mr. Leonard Martin Guevara of NEDA and Mr. John Kenneth Casabal. Yusek Claire Dennis S. Mapa of the National Statistics and Civil Registrar Office of the Philippine Statistics Authority, represented by Assistant National Statistician Divina Gracia del Prado, Miss Reynaldo Adriano, Miss Tepora, and Miss Marisol Falyarme. Okay, what the
Chair, nakamute kayo.
I'm sorry, Attorney Karen Ann Yambao and Miss Marilu Mendoza of Tariff Commission, represented by Commissioner Marisa Maricosa Paderon, Attorney Giovanni Concepcion, and Miss Diana Hope Castro. Secretary Tugadi, represented by Miss Jessica Marie Torres, and and Secretary MMDA Chairman Abalos, represented by Mr. Frisco San Juan Jr., Undersecretary Yusek, Engineer Abraham Sales of the Toll Regulatory Board, represented by Mr. Jos Carlo Ordiliano, Attorney Noel Felonco, Secretary of the National Anti-Poverty Commission, represented by Yusek Penelope Belmonte and Mr. Ron Mateo, Attorney Florina Agtarap, OIC, Office for Competition, represented by Ms. Leia Monoto, and Dr. Celia Reyes of PIDS, represented by Dr. Rolano Briones, Senior Research Fellow, Mr. Arsenio Balisacan of the Philippine Competition Commission, represented by Attorney Cristina Condes de Sagon and Attorney Orlando Polinar, and Mr. Nicanor Briones, President, Agriculture Sector Alliance of the Philippines and the Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines, Mr. Ferdinand Medina, Chief Executive Officer of the EcoPig Development.
Chair, nakamute kayo ulit.
Eliseo Yu, Chairman, Pork Producers Federation of the Philippines. Mr. Chester Warrenton, President, National Federation of Hog Farmers, Inc., with Mr. Alfredo Nang. Mr. Jesus Cham, President, Meat Importers and Traders Association. Mr. Jeffrey Ileto, President, United Swine Producers Association, with Mr. Ricardo De Jesus. Attorney Elias Jose Insiong, President of the United Broiler Raisers Association, with Mr. Gregorio San Diego. And the Consumers Organization, but wala si ano.
Name, ma'am.
Yung SINA, Mr. Rosendo So, okay, and then Secretary Lopez of DTI has arrived, and Commissioner Marisa Marcosa Paderon of Tariff Commission, Mr. Lenlin De La Cuesta, Acting Chief Tariff, and others. Mr. Ordonez, Chairman Alyansa ng Agrikultura, and Dr. Lisa Batat for the Philippine Council for Agriculture and Fisheries. And okay na to. Tatawag ko na. And Miss Jeniel Tupas, Head Ayala Malls, Mr. Regrets pala to. Okay. Okay. Engineer Rosendo So of the SINAG with Mr. Jason Cainglet. Okay. Mr. Herminio Agsaluna, National President ng Bansang Kilusan ng mga Samahang Magsasaka. Mr. Rene Cerille, Convener, Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas, represented by Mr. Rafael Mariano, and Mr. Mr. Ordonez, I have read the name. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go on with the hearing.
Madam Chair, I'd just like
Yes.
to make my presence known.
Okay, we recognize Senator Pia Cayetano of the Sustainability Committee. So she will be with us in this hearing. Okay, as a background, 2020 has not been a good year for the agricultural sector as well as the other sectors. Looking back in early September 2019, 3 backyard farms in Rizal reported high mortality losses. One of the affected farmers transported some deceased pigs to the neighboring province of Bulacan. The cause of the Rizal outbreak was suggested to be the feeding of canning baboy or swill, described as contaminated waste food or swill from Manila. It was later diagnosed to be African swine fever or ASF. This month, Agriculture Undersecretary William Medrano said that about 29.7 or 30% of the country's 14 million hog population has been wiped out by ASF and ASF-related actions such as culling. This means that the country has lost at least 4,158,000 pigs since the ASF struck the country in mid-2019. SINAG, or the Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura, estimated that some 134 billion has been lost in the hog industry as it struggles with ASF. The damage and losses due to the Taal volcano eruption on January 12, 2020 have reached 3 billion, affecting 15,790 hectares and 1,923 animal heads, according to the bulletin released by the Department of Agriculture. Then a series of typhoons hit the country, Quinta, Rolly, and Ulysses, which crossed Luzon in 2020 and left about 12.3 billion of damage in agriculture, primarily in the rice sector, according to the DA report. The COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines, which is part of the worldwide pandemic, was first identified in the country on January 30, 2020. Several measures were imposed to mitigate the spread of the disease in the country, including bans on travel. On March 9, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte issued Proclamation number 922, declaring the country under a state of calamity of public health emergency and enjoined the partial lockdown on Metro Manila to prevent a nationwide spread, and later the lockdowns were expanded to the rest of Luzon. The COVID-19 pandemic brought about supply chain disruptions and low demand of agricultural products. The lockdown affected the flow of goods from farms to urban markets. There were labor mobility issues too. The reduction in local demand and export demand affected people's buying power as well. The Philippine Department of Agriculture, through the Bureau of Animal Industry, announced that the World Organization for Animal Health declared that as of January 8, 2021, the Philippines is now free of the last remaining strain of avian influenza or bird flu. The country was able to reserve the outbreaks of bird flu that hit a commercial farm and backyard poultry farms in Rizal province in less than a year after the poultry virus emerged in the country. Understandably, this may be the only one of the few good news in our agricultural sector. In October 2020, the Philippine inflation rate went up by 2.5% as food prices rose. Rice might be cheap now, but Filipinos are finding it hard to find food items to pair it with rice, as costs rise during the pandemic, according to a study. The rise of meat prices was attributed to supply constraints brought about by ASF. DA admitted that pork supply is tight, but at the same time assured Filipinos that there is enough meat in the country. Chicken breast registered 11.11 increase in price from 180 kilos to 200 per kilo. Bangus registered 10% increase at 220 per kilo, while tilapia 6.6% increase versus 220, and alumanan cost 400 per kilo. In its bid to stabilize the prices of basic commodities, the national government on January 15, 2021, signed an EO modifying the rate of import duties on certain agricultural products under Section 1611 of RA 10863, or the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act of 2016, maintaining the tariff rate of imported mechanically deboned meat of chicken and turkey at 5% until the end of 2022 to ensure continued supply prices for canned and processed meat products. DA likewise proposes to freeze prices as the cost of pork soars to 400 per kilo through an executive order that they want President Rodrigo Duterte to sign. The DA is saying that costs are due to market manipulation. DA is also proposing to triple pork imports under the minimum access volume to alleviate the shortage of pork from 54,000 metric tons to more than 160,000 metric tons in order to encourage producers and importers to import more of the commodity. Pork imports under the MAB are levied 30% tariff, while the out-quota tariff is 40%. Meanwhile, the Philippine Association of Meat Processors is asking the President to authorize limited importation of up to 50,000 metric tons of pork at zero tariff. Land Bank to provide financing and trade credit to qualified hog raisers and producers at concessional rates, and that the National Meat Inspection Service to temporarily suspend the implementation of the policy prohibiting the sale and display of frozen meat products in the public market which are not equipped with refrigeration facilities during the duration of the shortage published in the papers last January 26, 2021. The Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG is proposing that instead of increasing imports, the DA should just subsidize the shipment of pork from Mindanao and Visayas to Luzon instead of just helping in the processing of transport permits. The National Federation of Hog Farmers or ProPork and ProPork stand is no importing of pork with zero tariff. The government needs the tariff to raise funds to assist local farmers to repopulate and improve biosecurity measure in the absence of an ASF vaccine. They oppose the increasing of minimum access volume as well. They are against the temporary suspension of selling frozen meat in the public market without freezer. Okay. Carrying meat importation with proven track record should only be the one to be accredited to import. They said that processor buy only 5% of their needs from the local producers, so their support is just a dream. DA should help backyard farm with correct biosecurity so they can repopulate and ask LGU to support DA's Bantay Barangay program, which I think the majority of the senators agree. The increasing food prices have a major impact on the living standards of low-income households, which generally spend most of their income on food. We cannot overemphasize the importance of foods such as rice, vegetable, livestock, poultry, and dairy in the food value chain to ensure adequate and affordable staple food supply, especially to Metro Manila and other urban centers, despite the issues brought about by the pandemic and the series of natural disasters that hit the country. As we take care of our health and welfare, farmers and fisher folks, we also have a responsibility. We have also the responsibility of feeding the rest of the population by bringing the produce to the market. As the BSP reported, inflation in the country accelerated to 3.5% in December, up from November's 3.3%, marking the highest inflation rate since February 2019, but still remaining within the government's target range of 2 to 4%. By area, December inflation was softer in Metro Manila at 3.2 against a 3.7 pace in the region. In contrast, the price of rice went up 2.1% in the capital region, but was 0.2% lower in the provinces. The Department of Agriculture has already stepped in and added measures like a price ceiling on select goods and encourage shipping pork from Visayas and Mindanao to areas experiencing high inflation and lack of supply. They have created this what you call hog lanes para matransport ang mga pork from Visayas and Mindanao to Greater Metro Manila. It is important to note that in computing for the Consumer Price Index, in the Philippine Statistics Authority puts more weight on rice than other food products. In this case, rice brought down the overall figure of the food index and inflation rate, despite rising costs of other food items that are typically paired with rice. So with that, I end my explanation. And now we want to hear from the sponsor of the resolution. Of course, first in the line is Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and then next is Senator Amy Marcos. After that, maybe if Senator Pimentel of the Trade Committee will be here, he can speak, and of course, Senator Cayetano of Sustainable Development. And after that, the other senators will speak. So we recognize Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you, distinguished colleagues in the Senate. At sa ating mga resource persons, magandang umaga po sa kanilang lahat. Medyo interesting po ang timing ng ating hearing dahil ngayon ay Pebrero. At ito ay buwan ng pag-ibig at pagmamahal. Yun nga lang, ang pinag-uusapan natin ay yung kamahalan ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Sa pag-aalala natin sa ating mga mahal sa buhay, isama na rin natin ang pagbibigay atensyon sa presyo ng karne, gulay at iba pang pagkain na lagi na rin nating tinatawag na mahal o kaya sobrang mahal. Siguro napansin na rin natin na sa araw-araw na ulam na inihahain sa hapagkainan, mabibilang na ang piraso ng karne sa pakbet at nagkukulang na ang gulay sa chapsuy. Ang impact ng spiraling prices of meat and other food cuts across all sectors and strikes us in the very core. Hindi ho, sabi nga nila, pagka tayo ay nasaktan, okay lang pag malayo sa bituka. Pero ito,
Kiko, no sound, mute. Kiko, mute.
go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Tunay na dapat bigyang pansin ang matindi at hinaing ng ating mga kababayan. Ayon sa Bantay Presyo Monitoring ng Department of Agriculture, noong 27 January, ang isang kilong well-made rice ay 44 pesos, local na galunggong 240 pesos, liempo 440 pesos, at isang kilo ng patatas 150 pesos. Kaya nang magtanong kami sa social media nitong ilang mga araw, saan aabot ang 500 pesos nila? Sabi nung isang nagngangalang Lakson, kasya pa. Pang tricycle balikan, isang kilong baboy, 20 pesos mantika at isang kilong bigas. Wala nang iba. Ayon naman kay G, sa Laguna, 500 pesos, katumbas ay isang kilo ng baboy, kangkong isang tali, kamatis 3 piraso, talong 1 piraso, okra 1 tali, labanos 1 piraso. 100 pesos plus 400 kilo na pot. Sinigang na kulang sa gulay para sa isang pamilya. Si Carino naman, sabi, 1 kilo of pork, 370. 1 kilo of well-made rice, 39. 1/4 kilo ng kalamansi, 60 pesos. 2 carrots, 30 pesos. At ang sukli, piso. This isn't even complete for one healthy meal. And many people don't even earn 500 pesos every day. Comment naman ni Nosmay, dati tanghalian hanggang hapunan, kasya po ang 500. Ngayon, tanghalian na lang po, maabutin ng 500. Subok na subok ang budgeting skills ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Matinding diskarte ang ginagawa ngayon sa karampot na 500 piso na kita ng minimum wage earner sa Metro Manila. Malinaw ang pangangailangan para sa agarang solusyon. Sabi ng Philippine Statistics Authority, bumagsak ang ating GDP pa 9.5%. Pinakamalaking bagsak mula noong 1946. Itong bagsak sa GDP, kinakabahan tayo dahil ang ibig sabihin nito, decline in production. Less production means less jobs, which is tantamount to fewer people having income para meron silang pambili ng pagkain. Ano po ang ibig sabihin nito para sa mga ordinaryong mamamayan? Para sa mga mamimili, para sa ating mga sektor ng agrikultura at paggawa. Our Senate resolution seeks to find an explanation for the rising food prices and to find necessary interventions. We also want to find out ano nga ba ang nasa likod ng pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. Ito ba ay natural causes or artificial in nature or both? Are there people behind price hikes and what can we do about it? Ano ba ang ating inventory ng meat and meat products? Tama ba na magkaroon ng price ceiling? Ito ba ay may sasagawa at may implement? Do we need to import in amounts as proposed? How much volume can the local economy absorb to stabilize prices? In June 2014, less than 2 weeks into my stint as Food Security Secretary, the nation faced a lack of rice supply that led to spiraling rice inflation. Dumadaing ang ating mga mamimili sa mataas na presyo ng bigas at pagkain noon. We immediately put in place 3 strategic interventions to address the situation, which in turn saw the stabilization of rice prices from 15% rice inflation to 0.8% rice inflation in less than 1 year, according to the PSA. These were the following interventions. Namely, number 1, we increased the supply of rice, NFA rice, in the market in a period of 2 months by 75%. In other words, halos dinoble ang supply ng bigas sa urban centers ng NFA rice. Pangalawa, we created an interagency task force composed of the NFA, the DTI, the NBI, and the PNP-CIDG. And based on the Price Act and the NFA PD number 4, we went after profiteers, unscrupulous traders, and even a number of NFA managers that led to the revocation or suspension of permits of traders, the filing of cases against profiteers and hoarders, and even NFA personnel involved in diversion and rebagging. These cases were filed in regions 3, 4, 5, 6, Caraga, and NCR. Hindi natin pinalampas ang mga mapagsamantala. And number 3, a transparent and competitive rice importation that saw the first ever failed NFA building of rice in 42 years, as we rejected high-priced bids of rice imports. This rejection and the lower purchase of rice led to lower price imports and led to the stabilization of rice prices and saved the government a total of 6 billion pesos of rice importation in 2014 and 2016. The Price Act or Republic Act 7851 empowers the government to augment supply in the markets to ensure ample supply and address demand, punish unscrupulous traders and profiteers, and going after and ensuring precisely proper importation of rice, of goods, in this case meat. We have in our hands the duty and opportunity to do something and help remedy the situation. Hindi tayo inutil. Tayo naman ang dumiskarte para sa mga solusyon na hinahanap ng ating mga kababayan. In closing, ika nga, sa ganitong sitwasyon kung saan tayo ay nasa laylayan, isang direksyon lang ang dapat tuhungin. Political will ang kinakailangan ipatupad. Gaya ng motto ng aking mga kapwa iskolan ng bayan, there is nowhere to go but up, para sa ating kita at kabuhayan, hindi sa presyo ng mga bilihin. Maraming salamat at magandang araw.
Dr. Amy.
Yes, thank you very much. Following the vigorous explanatory note from Senator Kiko, I need not repeat the points, simply to highlight the additional salient provisions in my own resolution. Firstly, the inquiry, as stated by my good chairwoman, the inquiry into the price.
All right. So, but you, of course, yeah, you're hearing us also from the committee now. that you-
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. There's another hearing.
Attorney Uri, are you on?
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yes. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yes. As I was saying, I need not repeat the explanation vigorously exposed by my colleague, Senator Kiko, but may I add, as already stated by my good chairwoman Villar, that there needs to be an inquiry into the biggest appropriation under Bayanihan 2, which was the 24 billion for the Department of Agriculture. This was meant to address the emergency in the wake of the pandemic. And while we are aware of the DBM's late release of DA's share under that law, We are also, from the outset, we were already questioning the inclusion of what appeared to be non-emergency measures, such as the agribusiness efforts with corridors, the setup of more research and development aspects, and certain inclusions that did not appear to be directly responsive to the prices anticipated to go higher as early as September. And now here we are, nagtaasan ng presyo at parang wala naman na impact yung 24 billion na ilinagay dyan. Ikalawa, yung question natin, syempre, yung tungkol sa 5% tariff on mechanically deboned chicken until the end of 2022. Now that prices have skyrocketed, what is the rationale for EO 123 at itutuloy pa ba ito? Tinatanong to ng ating mga poultry farmers. Ikatlo, syempre yung DTI, in as much as kayo ang enforcer, ika nga, at implementer ng Price Act, ano ba ang nagagawa? We're imposing price ceilings that have become ridiculous and laughable in the light of the reality of the exceedingly high prices. Finally, nagkakaroon ng mali siya itong importation na tinitriple. Sapagkat ang tanong ng lahat, kung 30% dati yung MAV, magiging 5%, yung out-quota tariff na 40%, magiging 15%. Sino kaya ang masiswerte na nasa listahan ng importer na naman ng pork? Masakit man, talagang dapat sagutin natin itong mga katanungan ng taong bayan. And of course, I need not underline the fact that food prices always hit the poor hardest, given that upwards of 60% of their expenses per family are sometimes dedicated, oftentimes involved only in the buying of food. Yun lang po, maraming salamat.
We now recognize Secretary Senator Pia, if she would want to comment. Senator Pia? Wala. So, how about the other senators? Senator Binay and Senator... there, Senator Pia. Do you want to comment? Senator Pia. Unmute. Unmute. Unmute ka. Hindi ka nadidinig.
There you go. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Just a very short manifestation. Directed to our resource person. No, I come from a perspective of sustainability. Madam, can you hear me? I don't know if my signal is clear.
Yeah. You're
Can you hear me,
okay.
Madam Chair?
Okay. We can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I come from the perspective of sustainability. So I would just like our resource persons to ensure that they add it in their discussion, whether in the first part of this hearing, the second part, the third part, I don't really care. But I'm looking towards the future, for the information of the body. The committee I chair is Sustainable Development Goals, Innovation and Futures Thinking. So as our colleagues and you deal with the problem now, my concern is the future. What are we doing now to also address the future?
Cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. Ay, na-mute na.
May I just request that you include that and what you have done about that, what coordinations you're doing with other agencies. For the information of the body, we have put in funding in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and 3 other state universities, precisely for futures thinking, particularly in agriculture. And we have had lengthy discussions with NEDA on this as well, and the Department of Agriculture. So we'd like to expect by now to be parts of the discussion, because only look at the present scenario, simply something like magawa because there's swine flu over the world, nahawa tayo. Does not seriously consider. These we should have expected. These are future scenarios that should not be shocking to us. So what we try to do in our committee is to look at what systems you have in place to avoid these things surprising us, because they are not unpredictable. They are very, very predictable. So that is the perspective where we come from, Madam Chair. And one more thing is, as we all know, I suppose, but I want it again part of the discussion, is that zero hunger is a very important sustainable development goal. So we'd also like to know that what exactly are those efforts being done to attain that? Because again, a lot of things that are happening now should not be surprising to us. We should have had systems in place to address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Pia. We now want to hear from the other senators, Senator Risa and Senator Binay. Who will be first?
No, thank you, Chair. I'll just wait to ask questions later.
Okay.
Salamat po.
How about Senator Binay?
Madam Chair, we can proceed. Madami-dami ho yung mga bisita natin this morning.
Okay,
Thank
sige.
you.
So we will start asking questions now. Before that, I just want to acknowledge the other visitors and resource persons. Ms. Elena Varona of the Price Statistics Division of PSA, Mr. Marco Maat, DTI Lola, Mr. Director Jesse Cardona of the Bureau of Customs, Attorney Victorio Mario de Magiba, Laban Consumer Inc., Felix Bitangol, Citizen Watch, and Mr. Jojo Garcia, General Manager, MMDA, and then Mr. Ruben Reynoso, Undersecretary for Planning and Project Development, DOTR, Mr. Eves Dexter Sarcedo, Chief Customs Operation Officer, Yusek Penolope Belmonte, National Anti-Poverty Commission, Mr. Leonard Martin Guevara of NEDA, Sairi Solyaban of PICAF, Attorney Giovanni Concepcion of Acting Chief Tariff Specialist of Tariff Commission, Mr. Jos Carlo Ordinalio, Head Toll Regulatory Board, and Mr. Rodolfo Havillane, United Philippine Consumers, and Mr. Ron Mateo, Development Management Officer of NAPSI. So, who will be the one to ask the question?
Madam Chairperson?
Yes.
Madam Chairperson, kung meron lang PowerPoint presentation yung mga bisita natin, if we can get a copy.
Yeah. You want them to show their PowerPoint?
To send us.
Okay, we will ask our resource persons to give us a copy, and all the others who would want to give a copy to the senators of their PowerPoint presentation. Okay, we start now asking questions. Who would be the first one? Kiko, Aimee? We are now asking questions.
Maybe I will yield to Senator Marcos, and then I can raise questions after, because I'm still waiting for some material, ma'am.
Okay, Senator Aimee.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Perhaps the first thing that we'd like to inquire is what has happened to the Price Act? There are sufficient grounds for the DTI to do automatic price controls of meat under RA 7581. Pero panay naman lagay ng suggested retail price na medyo pinagtatawanan na nga nung iba dahil sa ilalim ng SRP na naka-paskel, binibenta naman ang doble o triple. Ano po ang magagawa natin sa Price Act? Are there any sanctions that we can impose? Are there any actions we can undertake?
May we ask the answer of Secretary Lopez of DTI?
Madam Chair, Senator Cynthia Villar, Senator Aimee Marcos, the Chair of Economic Affairs Committee, the honorable members of the committee and the Senate, Secretary William Dar, fellow workers in government, and other attendees. Salamat po sa pag-imbita ninyo sa amin sa committee hearing ngayon. Bibrief ko lang po kayo dun sa basic necessity and prime commodities coverage ng Price Act. Pursuant to RA 7581, as amended by RA 10623, otherwise known as the Price Act, under Section 3, Paragraph 3, the DTI and other implementing agencies such as the DA, the Department of Health, the DANR, the Department of Energy, they are mandated to ensure adequate supply and reasonable prices of their respective basic necessity and prime commodities at all times. To protect the consumers, yung mga implementing agencies po should ensure stability of prices and supply of the respective BNPC, basic necessity prime commodities, and prescribe measures against undue price increases during emergency situations and like occasions. So each agency po is mandated to conduct the monitoring of prices, to identify the cause of market price irregularities, as well as determine price trends, pag-set po ng SRPs, and develop a database system on prices. Meron po kami yung proposed solutions, if I may po. The core problem mo kasi talaga dito, una-una, this is agriculture products under po sa Department of Agriculture. And we all know it has been presented po that the issue is really supply availability. And because of supply limitations, particularly dito sa issue pinag-uusapan on pork, ang DA naman po has presented their programs to address the situation. And of course, I will defer to the DA Secretary to explain this. But we heard his presentation and actions to really address the supply situation, which is to repopulate hog production in ASF-cleared areas, to transfer yung hog supply from surplus provinces to deficit areas like Metro Manila and those other parts of Luzon, to encourage diversification of diet to other protein sources, to import immediately the needed supply. Ang intindi po namin dito, yung importation po will be temporary just to fill in yung gap in the demand and supply. And part of facilitating imports would be to reduce the tariff rates and increase the minimum access volume recommended by the DA. And the DA also proposed the temporary mandated price ceiling through an EO to be issued by the President. Dito po sa pagset ng SRP, tama po kayo na kung medyo po magiging masyadong mababa o unrealistic, baka po hindi mahirap po ma-implement at wala hong sumunod at worse than that, baka po lalong mawala yung supply. Yun po yung ating pangamba kung sobrang mababa ang presyo at wala na pong magpadala ng pork dito ho sa Metro Manila or sa Luzon. On DTI's part po, we are part of the Local Price Coordinating Council, and again, being an agriculture products, the DA led the revival of Local Price Coordinating Council. Ito po yung together with other agencies and LGUs. So the DA included DTI, DILG, at mga LGUs, local government, para ho matutukan yung bawat stage ng supply chain and try to intervene where we can. Tulad ho yung concerns na nagtataas ba o pinipigilan ba ang supply on the wholesaler part, on the traders, biyahero part, or artificially inaakyat ang presyo from the biyahero, wholesalers, at pagdating sa retailers, mataas na. Kaya ho, whenever we call the attention ng retailers at dito po sa mga price monitoring, we accompany DA. Again, we cannot move on our own without the DA kasi po as provided in the Price Act. This is under DA. So kami po yung nagbibigay ng suporta when it comes to monitoring. Pero pag issue ng notice of violation, again, it will be the DA who should be doing that. We can do that for manufactured products, yung mga grocery products and supermarkets. Kaya po dito sa manufactured products, which is the one being monitored and sort of managed, controlled by DTI, doon po kami umaaksyon doon sa mga manufactured products. DA po would be issuing the necessary notice of violation at ito po yung mga roles po naming lahat. But the LPCC, magsasama-sama po, ang malaking importansya po dito would be ang tulong ng mga local government units.
Yes, Mr. Secretary. Sorry.
Madam Chair, with the indulgence of Senator Amy.
Yes. Mr. Secretary, may hirit lang ako, 1 second. Sabi po ninyo, yung violations against the Price Act, kapag food, DA. Kayo, kapag manufactured lang. Tama ba yung pagkaintindi ko? Kasi nahihirapan po kami sa pasahan ng responsibilidad eh.
Opo, yung pag-agriculture po, agriculture products under DA. Yun po yung nakasaad sa price.
Manufacture. How about canned goods?
Sa amin
Canned
po.
goods na food.
Pag-process,
Sa inyo. Sa inyo. Oo.
Sa amin po, manufactured, delata, like instant noodle, gatas.
Oo, inyo yon. So yung pinoprocess ng processor na binibigyan sila ng in-extend yung 5% tariff on deboned meat.
chicken.
Kayo yung ba tumataas ang presyo, binigyan na sila ng privilege doon.
No, Madam Chair. In fact, yun po yung nilinaw natin. Kaya ho kami nag-request talaga noon on the DTI part kasi po it will affect itong mga manufactured products.
Kaya nga, binigyan sila, di ba?
So, nabigyan po yung
Hindi, tumaba presyo o bumaba ang presyo?
Maintain po kasi hindi ho umakyat ang presyo. Kahit abroad po tumataas ang presyo ng MDM, hindi pa rin ho sila nagtaas yung mga manufactured products. Dulot na rin po ng yung exchange rate po natin mataas na yun, malakas ngayon. Kaya ho relatively nababalanse ho yung konting pagtaas ng MDM abroad. Pero malaking bagay ho yung hindi tinaas yung taripa noon dahil wala naman local producers. At para nga ho hindi mapasa yung pagtaas ng cost sa manufactured products.
So, with the indulgence of
Ay, sorry.
Senator Amy, Madam Chair, just a related
I was just
question
gonna
on the
ask lang,
price.
one lang quick follow-up, Senator Risa, tapos kayo na. Kay Secretary Lopez lang po, sa pagkaalam ninyo, meron na bang na-charge dyan sa ilalim ng Price Act, whether DTI or DA? Kasi wala namang kami nababalitaan na nakakasuhan dyan.
Meron po on the manufactured products po, we have statistics, si Yusek Castelo would have the numbers. But meron po tayong mga na-issuehan ng mga violation at na-charge na po na pagdating po dito sa Price Act under manufactured products.
Ano ba yan?
We can
Nagbabayad
probably ask
sila?
for a record of those kay DTI Castelo na lagi kong naririnig sa radyo. Kung maari sana yung violations at yung mga actions, baka namang kailangan patawan na mas mataas na sanction. Senator Risa, please, sorry.
Thank you, Senator Amy. Madam Chair, if I may, one related question on the Price Act question of Sen. Amy. Sec. Lopez, kabado lang po kasi ako sa pagpataw ng price freeze sa baboy at manok na yung mga tindera natin sa palengke ang mapaparusahan. Kahit na po yung pagtaas ng presyo ng karne at profiteering, kung nangyayari po iyon, ay hindi naman sa mga maliliit na tindera sa palengke nangyayari. So, bakit ang mga maliliit na magtitinda ang maiipit kung sa mga naunang transaksyon nangyayari ang pagtaas? Halimbawa sa farm gate, assembler, processor, sa cold storage o kahit pa nga sa transport papuntang palengke nangyayari yung pagtaas ng presyo na iyon.
Tama po, Senator Risa, Madam Chair. Importante po talaga sa minungkahi, recommend po natin kay Secretary Willandar na pag nag-set po tayo ng SRP sa retail, kailangan po may SRP rin sa wholesale, may SRP sa biyahero. Para po malinaw across the value chain, mamonitor ho at susunod lahat ng nasa value chain. Kasi ho, pagpasok na nung presyo, pagpasok na nung pork or nung produkto sa palengke, ang problema po ay talagang ang retailer susunod na lang po dun sa kung ano yung pinasa sa kanila at magpapatong sila ng 5 or 10 pesos. So sila ho talagang may regular na patong po sa bawat produkto. So importante ho talaga ang SRP will be at the different level. So from farm gate up to the retailer. Para ho talaga lahat po dapat sumunod. At kung may adjustment po kailangang i-consider, ay dapat pong i-consider dahil ang nung minute po na rin sumama po kami sa DA, nung minute po ang yung industry and the producers along the value chain, yun naman po ang sinasabi nila na hindi naman po sa gusto nilang tumaas yung let's say yung presyo ng baboy, pero sa kakulangan ng supply, at imaginein po natin ang explanation nila na dati ay let's say 100 kilos ang dinideliver, ngayon 50 kilos na lang, ay parang talagang tumataas po yung unit cost, yung in effect yung delivery cost ng bawat kilo. Or ganun po ganun po ang reality. Ganun po ang difference po talaga pag konti ang supply. Kaya ho, in the end, ang solution po talaga yung supply. Yun po ang kailangan damihan po. And marami pong programa ang DA dyan.
So,
Salamat, Sec. Lopez. And I guess secondarily, pag natukoy kung sa wholesale stage nangyayari yung price increase, hindi maparusahan yung nasa retail stage tulad ng ating mga maliliit na tindera sa palengke. And later, Madam Chair, Sen. Amy, i-follow up ko na lang kung dumulog na po ba kayo o ang DA din sa Philippine Competition Commission para matanong kung saang parte ng value chain maaring makita ang labis-labis na pagpataas ng presyo ng baboy at manok kung ito nga ay nangyayari nga. Salamat muli, Sec. Lopez. Salamat, Sen. Amy, Madam Chair.
Salamat
Thanks, Risa. Sec. Lopez, last na lang. Itong SRP sa iba't ibang stage ng value chain, yung SRP retail, SRP wholesaler, is that already being implemented now?
Hindi pa po. Yun po ay isang recommendation po namin sa DA. At siyempre po, we leave it to Secretary Dar para ho ma-consider. Ang alam po namin, and of course, the Secretary can report or can mention. Ang alam po namin, may recommendation po sila sa Office of the President about the SRP. At ang alam po namin sa retail price lang po yun. So maybe that can be considered if the SRP is issued. The DA can also issue the necessary SRP along the value chain.
Secretary, I think the DA has implied in certain press releases that there has been evidence of price fixing and artificially raising prices, artificially creating an undersupply in food. Meron ba kayong nakikita nito, whether DTI or DA, na pinagtutulong-tulungan daw ang presyo ng ating traders, aggregators, at iba pa? Meron ba kayong ebidensya sa DTI? Kasi nabasa ko na nagsalita yung DA tungkol riyan.
I'll have to defer to the DA, Madam Senator. Dahil
For your part,
sa amin po, wala po.
Wala sa DTI.
Opo, ang
Okay,
ginawa
so we look forward to the different. Okay, thanks. Yes po.
Ang ginawa rin po namin tulad nung na relay po sa atin ni Senator Pangilinan na we really had to involve also the intelligence group. Kaya po yung PNP, yung NBI, talaga kung kailangan i-include din po dito sa effort na to, joint effort, na talagang to do extra intelligence work pagdating ho sa pag-monitor pati ho ng mga traders. Ito po kasi yung din natin nakikita sa labas sa merkado. At ito ho yung nagpapasa-pasa ng mga presyo. Kaya nga ho, importanteng magkaroon sila ng SRP at importante rin ho makikita ang mga bodega nila or in effect ma-investigate kung talaga hong may mga profiteers and orders along the way, especially at this time. So we will really need more intelligence work as well as enforcement. Thank you, Madam Senator.
Thank you, Secretary Lopez. Siguro yung DA, kasi parang nabanggit ninyo sa press release na may katibayan kayo na nagkakakumplutan sa ating mga traders, aggregators at iba pa tungkol sa presyo. I think may implication lalo to sa dati-rate, sobra-sobra yung manok. Biglang ngayon, halos wala ng manok. Sa bagay, talaga naman walang magpapalaki o magko-cultivate ng poultry kapag ganun yung presyo. So, merong natural na diminishing. Pero, ang implication, meron daw nagkukumplot sa ating mga traders. Tama po ba yun, DA, please?
We call now on Secretary Dar.
Yeah, Honorable Cynthia Villar, Chair of the Committee on Agriculture, distinguished members of the committee, sa lahat po nakasama sa gobyerno, sa lahat po ng stakeholders sa pribadong sektor, masaganang umaga po sa ating lahat. Madam Chair, the issue on food prices in these crucial times is no laughing matter. nakakabahala na marami ang nawalan ng trabaho ng kanilang kabuhayan. Ngayon ay hindi alam kung saan kukuha ng isang kain. Any increase in food prices has a major impact on the living standards, especially of lower income households, which generally spend most of their income on food. Even a slight increase can confront the members of that household with difficult decisions. So I have two slides to start with the food security sources.
Secretary, can you answer first the question
Madam Chair,
before we do? Mr. Secretary, can you answer first the question before we do this?
yes, in short, the answer.
The question is, meron ba kayong, ano tawag dito, meron kayong
Ebidensya
tutunayan
o
na merong cartel or profiteering or that? Meron ba kayong katunayan dyan?
Okay po, ito yung monitoring po natin, the latest for the last 2 weeks. Ang farm gate price po ay 132 to 185. Ang extreme condition or setup is in the Caraga, 233. So, ang may mga, kung ito po yung farm gate price, sustained po ito. Ang pagdating na sa biyahero, sila na po yung nagpapatong na malaki para apektado na yung presyo sa retail price. Ganun po. We will show you yung data.
Okay.
Mayroon po kami.
Yes, Secretary Dar, kasi sa mga manggugulay ng Amiana, ng Norte, pinagtatakahan namin, hindi naman talaga nagbago ang presyo sa farm gate. Ganun pa rin ang bilihan sa magsasaka. Bakit pagbagsak sa Metro Manila, pagkataas-taas, minsan doble o triple na?
Kung nasabi na ninyo, Sen. Aimee, that's the reason na ito, we have analyzed this, everything. Talagang yung farm gate prices are within range na okay yung pagtaas. The cost of producing a kilo of hog is 105 pesos. So itong farm gate prices ay 132 to 185. Now,
That's right.
pagdating na sa merkado, 400 pataas. So, sino po ang nagmamanipula, nagpa-profiteering po dito? It's the biyahero, it's the wholesalers that's making this killing. At
Ang question, Secretary Dar, that puts us to question the conclusion of Secretary Lopez that it's an undersupply question. Dahil, bakit yung farm gate mababa pa rin? Undersupply ba talaga o profiteering?
hindi po, hindi, mayroon tayong datos din kung ilan na yung nawala. So yung farm gate price halos stable po from even before Christmas. Meaning tumaas konti, which is a good indication na nag-a-adjust na yung hog industry at this is one opportunity naman na maganda yung presyo nila kasi nakakabawi na may amidst the ASF. So ang tinututukan namin talaga yung mga biyahero at ang mga wholesalers kasi sila na yung nagmamanipula ng sitwasyon. So recent indications would really show us lahat itong mga undersecretaries namin, karamihan sila ay we had them go to the regions at ganun ang findings po nila. Now,
But
kung mamarapatin,
Secretary po kasi, marami siyempre nagre-reklamo dahil yung transportation, nandito naman yung DOTR, talagang structural issues, yung strategy na price ceiling, walang mangyayari dyan kasi alam naman natin, walang sufficient support sa hog raisers. Makita natin na almost all the hog raising regions near Metro Manila, for example, have shown significant increases sa transport. So tama naman yung issue ng transport, siguro makakatulong yung DOTR, pero ang tanong pa rin, kung nandyan lahat po ng USEC, ang katutak na ASEC, nakatutok ng DA, ano ang ginagawa nila dyan sa profiteering ng biyahero, ng trader at kung sino man? Anong action po? Anong parusa? May sanction ba yan? May ginagawa ba? Kasi alam natin yung mga nangyayari from farm gate to marketplace.
Yeah. Ito po yung isang tinututukan po natin. Can I be allowed, Madam Chair and Sen. Aimee, to present to you now yung dalawang slides lang para lang
Okay.
makita muna yung total approach namin para maintindihan po natin. Dalawa lang slides.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we recognize.
Maraming salamat ulit, Madam Chair. Ito po yung dapat everyone has to appreciate because ensuring food security is highest, goal sa ating bansa. And just to mention, in most cases, hindi pa tayo 100% self-sufficient sa mga iba't ibang commodities, maybe except for a few, but kukunti yan. So that we have outlined these three major food sources para mas maintindihan po natin. Number one is yung priority na binibigay po natin, pagtaas ng production, safe, nutritious, and affordable. So there's no discussion on the first opportunity na tutulong tayo, tinutulungan natin ang local commodity industries natin. So that's clear. Now, habang pinupush natin yung number one, number two po, itong mobilization and improving local supply chain from surplus provinces to other areas para mapunuan natin yung shortage dito sa Manila, including itong ginagawa natin ngayon ng price freeze, and I will go into the details of this. At from May to December last year, nakapagparating po tayo ng 250,000 hogs galing Visayas and Mindanao. Now, number three po, alam natin din na may ASF na ngayon walang bakuna po. And Spain, I'm not mentioning that it will take us 30 years to control. Spain had it for 30 years, but we can do it shorter, and we'll go to that if you want to ask. And number four is importation to fill up demand, yung gap.
Can I interject, Ms. Secretary?
Po, ma'am.
But may news na meron na daw vaccine by end of the year ang Vietnam.
Ganito po, ma'am, ang balita. Kaya yes, mayroon vaccine na ongoing ang trial sa Vietnam. Ito ay binigay na USDA. So we have been in contact with USDA all this time, and they are willing to do the same. And
And nakalagay doon, press release nyo na you gave 80 million to DOST para dito sa ASF vaccine.
Hindi po ganun ang yung 80 million ay nakaset aside kasi mayroon rin tayo dito sa Pilipinas rapid test kit na being developed by Central Luzon State University funded by the Department of Agriculture and Bureau of Animal Industry. So halos patapos na po yung proseso yan sa pagre-register or may testing pa na ginagawa. At pag natapos na yan, hopefully, ay mag-mass manufacture po na tayo dito, rapid test kit. Meaning we are allocating now this early 80 million pesos if and when that test kit is available. Now, mayroon rin mga ibang rapid PCR test na available naman at yun na muna ang gagamitin natin po. So can I proceed to the second slide?
Okay.
Okay po, ito na ngayon yung kabuuan ng aming ginagawa, measures to support the hog industry and to lower pork prices. So it's a whole of nation approach. At gusto kong again i-repeat yung previous is
Pero
9.
walang budget ang ano, di ba? Ang palaging pinakamalitang budget niyang livestock eh. Tapos binasa ko yung bayanihan to nyo, wala naman ding nakalagay doon na for livestock eh.
Mayroon po ma'am, dagdag doon.
Explain nyo sa akin kasi binasa ko yung buong report ng bayanihan 2, walang nakalagay doon sa livestock. Tapos 25% lang ang inyong spending.
Can
Oo
I
nga, ang baba ng
As of your latest report, binasa ko yung report nyo eh. 25% lang, tapos wala akong nakitang livestock doon na repopulation.
Kaya nga nagtataka po.
Wala.
Mayroon po ma'am, let me mention please.
Madam Chair, this is Undersecretary Medrano. I
Oh.
would like to report that under Bayanihan 2 stimulus package, meron po tayong nakalaan na 678 million for various livelihood programs for livestock and poultry po.
No, but yung livelihood niyo, gumawa ng bagnet, gumawa ng chicharon, hindi repopulation.
Wala naman
Binasa ko yun eh. Hindi
Walang
repopulation eh. Oh, wala. So, liwanagin nyo to kasi binasa namin, report nyo yun eh. Wala eh. Oh.
We will clarify this in due time, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can I proceed?
May I move that you provide us another report because the report you provided us, wala kaming nakita na repopulation.
Po, ma'am.
And then yung gagawin nyo sa ASF, very vague. Sasabihin diseases, transboundary diseases. Ano ba 'yun? Maraming transboundary diseases. I hope you make a report na mas detalyado kasi tapos ang na-spend nyo lang as of December 25%. Hindi ba dapat tapos na ng December 19 yung bayanihan? Buti in-extend yan, pero dapat December 19 tapos na yan eh.
Yes, Madam Chair, ang laging dinadahilan, very late yung release, delayed release ng DBM, tapos naabutan na ng Pasko. Pero bidatas it may, talagang kulang na kulang at parang walang banggit nga sa repopulation. Higit sa lahat, yung pinakamahal na bahagi, yung transportation, cold storage at iba pa, talagang walang-wala sa listahan ng Bayanihan 2. Last year pa tayo, sinasabi na natin na kukulangin ng pagkain. At yung Bayanihan 2, kaya nga binagyan ng pagkalaki-laking budget, kayo na yung pinakamalaki, para ma-address yan. Nakita natin, walang epekto, bilyon-bilyon na ang binigay.
Kasi ang pinakamalaking budget do sa Bayanihan 2, nakita ko yung magbigay ng pera sa mga farmer. That's okay. But parang nagpunta na naman sa rice, 5 billion. Hindi naman rice ang problema natin kasi may RCEP na. Tapos may National Rice Resiliency Fund. Tapos yung unang Bayanihan 1, 8.5 billion ang rice resiliency. Alam nyo magkakaproblema dito because of ASF. Para wala akong nakita na repopulation of livestock. Oo. Kaya siguro iliwanagin natin to kasi talagang napagod na nga ako kababasa eh. Wala akong makita. So maybe you should make a new report para i-clarify sa amin. Kasi minsan vague ang report nila eh. Oo.
Sige po, let me go ahead with the first priority, local production.
Okay.
Yung report kasi Bayanihan 2 ay doon lang, mayroon pa tayong iba't ibang sources to do repopulation.
Yeah, but sayang yung Bayanihan 2, 24 billion. And that should have solved this problem sa pork. Hindi masyado yung vegetable kasi yung vegetable, cash crop yan 1.5 month lang, makaka-recover tayo dyan pag nagtanim tayo. Pero yung pork, medyo matagal to tsaka yung chicken. So sana binigyan ng emphasis to di ba?
We will continue to realign and dagdagan natin itong pundo.
Kasi alam mo, Secretary Dar, yan ang napansin ko. You know, ang contribution ng crop sa agriculture is 52%. Ang next is livestock and poultry, which is about 33%. and lash yung fisheries 15%. Pero pagtingin mo sa budget, pinakamaliit yung livestock. Parang kawawa sila, palaging maliit ang livestock. So maybe we should do a law to help livestock, and maybe you can give some ideas how we will the same thing na ginawa natin yung RCEP. Maybe we can do something for livestock also.
Opo, ma'am. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Ituloy ko lang muna para mas itong laban sa SF continues to be one of the biggest fights we are pushing. And ito na nabanggit ko kanina, yung rapid test kit, yung we need to have stricter quarantine checkpoints. At ang suma total po dito, yung coordination, collective action na under the leadership of LGUs, nandyan naman sa batas na talaga LGUs sa kanilang lugar, sila ang unang first responders and frontliners. Now in financing itong local production po, for commercial hog raisers, the Land Bank of the Philippines has set aside a special loan facility of 15 billion. So very affordable yung interest rate for the commercial hog raisers, while that of the backyard hog raisers, mayroon half a billion pesos under the ACPC funding. Now, doon sa pangalawang strategy po, supply chain, we are mobilizing supplies from surplus provinces to metro areas, at dito po nagpa-approve rin tayo sa ATF ng tinatawag na nautical highway for the hog lanes, at we are elevating our Kadiwanian at Kita, and we are in partnership with the Department of Transportation in this mobilization effort, and other agencies, DTI, DILG, yung mga nagbababoy sa Visayas, Mindanao, kasama po sila dito. Now, second, doon sa price, in relation to price ceiling po, ay yung sinabi ni Secretary Mon Lopez, maraming salamat, Secmon. Ito ay yung setting up of the wholesale price for pork ay gagawin po natin, or for hogs, para ito yung isang control po natin doon sa nagsasamantala na mga biyaheros or wholesaler. Then the part of that...
May question lang ako dyan sa price ceiling, di ba? Can I intercede? Kasi ang stand ng DA, yung pork, ibaba to 270 to 300 ang price ceiling. Pero yung mga yung ating mga nag-aalaga ng baboy, gusto nila 330 to 360. Ano ngayon ang opinion nyo dito? Parang nagkaroon kayo ng differences, oo. Parang bababaan sila sa 270 to 300, sila 330 to 360. What do you think of this?
Yeah, after the meeting with the National Price Coordination Act, we adjusted this price ceiling recommendation to the palace. Yung pork kasim po ay 280 na, yung recommendation po namin. At yung pork liempo ay 310. So
nag-adjust na kayo.
Ma'am.
Oo.
Moving forward, Madam Chair, yung nasabi na rin ni Secretary Mon Lopez, yung economic intelligence, at ito rin in relation to what have been mentioned by Senator Amy, na tututukan po namin yung mga biyahero na nagsasamantala and the wholesaler. So, nandyan, it's again a whole of government approach. Then, the third strategy is food diversity.
May question po dito. Oo, sabi kasi dito ng Alyansa Agrikultura, ang farm gate daw ng pork is 250, hindi 105 to 132. Tama ba yon? Ano ba to? Yan ang question nila. Nag-online sila. What do you think of this? Masyado naman yata mataas ang 250.
Ma'am, hindi ko nakuha yung tanong.
Hindi ba sabi mo ang farm gate prices ng pork is 105 to 132 per kilo, di ba?
Hindi ma'am. 105 is the production cost.
Oh.
Break-even point yon.
Oh,
105.
so magkano ang farm gate price?
Ang farm gate price na nakuha natin itong last 2 weeks, can we have the slides? Kasi mayroon po tayo. So, nasabi ko na talagang between 130 to sabihin natin 200. Ito po.
Sabi kasi nila 250 daw. Ito. So,
Masyadong mataas po yung...
so 200 ang maximum. Ikaw, Aimee, kayo sa probinsya, Aimee, what do you think?
Hindi naman umaabot ng 250 po. Pero lumalampas na ng 200 po.
Ang farm gate.
Yes po.
Ang farm gate.
Ang Ilocos Norte po, as per our report, nandiyan na po yung summary po ng aming pag-monitor at base po doon sa datos natin. Ito nga within the range tayo.
That's
Yung
right.
sa price ceiling na yung pork liempo ay 280 and the pork kasim ay
310. 310.
kasim ay 280, pork liempo ay 310 po.
So what do you think of that, Aimee? Reasonable ba yon, Aimee?
Ang pagkaalam ko yung farm gate, tama po yung nandyan na umaabot ng 210, 220. Sa amin, di naman umabot ng 250, baka sa ibang probinsya. At doon naman...
Pero tama ba yung price ceiling nilang bago na, sabi mo, 280 to 310? Pwede na yon?
Saksakan po ng mahal, talagang umaalma lahat.
Hindi, pero iyon ang kanilang ipa-price freeze it. Yun ang recommendation nila, 280 to 310.
Sana nga ma-achieve po kung under 300 at least kakayanin pa. Ang problema po kasi maraming hindi naniniwala sa price ceiling. Yung mga magsasaka sa amin, sabi kahit ipako pa yan ng ilang beses, kapag yung presyo namin ganun kataas, talagang hindi aabot. Kasi yung transport cost, yun ang rine-request talaga ng matindi. Kung tulungan daw sila sa transport at saka sa cold chain, kasi hindi nila maintindihan kung paano ibabagsak dun sa price ceiling na sinasabi. At yun nga, everyone is very, very interested about the opening of the special hog lanes. How exactly will they work, or will it cause more havoc in the same way as it did during the ECQ and GCQ?
Merong sinabi ang DA na together with the other agencies of government that they will create a hog lane, di ba? Para mas mabilis. So ano ba yung hog lane, Secretary?
Madam Chair, before the hog lane, just a quick intervention.
Yeah. Sige, Senator Kiko.
Ma'am, Madam Chairperson, ang question natin sa Department of Agriculture and perhaps also DTI, a price freeze has already been established in the last 6 months since COVID tayo pandemic, hindi ba? Kung hindi na-implementa yung price freeze, paano ma-implementa yung price ceiling? Kasi ang price freeze dapat hindi na umaandar, hindi na umaangat kasi nga price freeze dahil emergency Pero tumataas yung presyo. So, hindi natin na-implementa yung price freeze, which is, during a pandemic that is allowed under the law, tumaas pa rin. So ngayon magsisiling tayo, paano natin ma-implementa yung price ceiling kung yung price freeze hindi natin na-implementa?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes. I think the Philippine hog industry would like to manifest para kay Secretary Dar. Can we allow the Philippine hog industry to manifest? Yes.
1 or 2 sentences lang doon sa manifestation po ni Senator Pangilinan.
Okay,
dat-
sige.
po, yung dating price freeze ay nag-expire na. And that's why hindi magkaiba po itong price ceiling and price freeze. Yung price freeze is the first step determining the price, the price ceiling is the first step na nirekomenda po natin for approval in Malacanang. And from there,
Price
they will now
freeze.
issue the executive order freezing the price at that ceiling. Within the period of 60 days lang po ang effectivity lang ng price freeze. 60 days lang po habang nagmo-mobilize tayo ng iba't ibang food supplies. Ganun po.
Just a clarification. You're saying the reason why na-implementa yung price freeze pero dahil nag-expire nawala na yung price freeze, tama po ba 'yon? Kasi ang
Tama po kasi nung December lang, November nagtaas yan. So pababa na yung pawala na yung price freeze then. So may tumaas na ang presyo nung mas lalo nung December at sinustain na itong January po.
except that the emergency situation is still prevailing. Di ba? Hindi pa naman wini-withdraw yung presidential, yung executive order. So dapat habang nandiyan pa yung emergency, nariyan pa rin yung price freeze. Bakit na-expire?
That's why we are going back to Malacanang kasi they issue the price freeze order based on the price ceiling.
Medyo hindi maliwanag kasi iba yung price ceiling, iba yung price freeze. Hindi ba?
Hindi magkaiba po yun, Sen Kiko. We initiate the price ceiling para yun ang pagkakan po ng Malacanang to issue the price freeze under the Price Act.
Yeah, okay, can we just get the data in terms of kailan yung price freeze, magkano yung presyo, at as over time, parang ang pagkaintindi ko based on the data that we initially were reviewing, tumataas yung presyo kahit na may price freeze. Hindi siya tumaas dahil nag-expire yung price freeze. In other words, yung pag-monitor ng pagtaas ng presyo, medyo kulang yung pag-implement. That is my understanding, Secretary. But can we have the data? Because ito, nasa data ninyo, ayan, no, from the emergency was declared. Kailan ba yung declaration ng emergency? Immediately, in the first quarter pa lang. Pero ayan, no, September 270, umabot na ng, di ba? Pataas yung
Sen Kiko, Madam Chair, that's why naging flat yung presyo nung bago...
Ba't biglang tumaas?
Tapos bumiglang tumaas nung...
There's something wrong.
Anyway, my sense, ma'am, just very quickly, is pag-aralan, I think ang DTI sanay sa suggested retail price at pagmamonitor ng mga presyo. Nung panahon natin sa NFA, ganun din dahil sanay ang NFA noon na i-monitor ang presyo ng bigas. Kaya meron talagang monitoring arm yan. Pero siguro ang DA hindi sanay sa pagmamonitor ng presyo, baka kailangan palakasin itong pagmamonitor ng presyo at pag-i-issue nga nitong mga revocation ng mga permit. Sabi nga ninyo, nagsasamantala itong mga trader, ilang mga trader, hindi naman natin nilalahat. Pero kung yung mga yon, dapat sana nagkaroon na ng suspension, investigation, hearing, pinatawag, para talagang nararamdaman ng industriya na ang Department of Agriculture hindi pwedeng paikutan. Diba?
Opo.
May I be recognized, Madam Chair?
Yes, can we recognize former Congressman Nick Briones of Batangas?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kasi po nadidinig ko kanina yung sinabing farm gate price ng ating secretary. Mukha pong malayo yon sapagkat ang tumatakbo po ngayon dito sa Batangas ay 220 pesos ang per kilo. Yan naman po, hindi masasabing masyadong nagkumikita mga magbababoy sapagkat umaabot na po sa 180 pesos po yung production cost. Kasi kung bibili kayo ng biik, feeds, biosecurity, umaabot po ng mga 180 pesos po ang per kilo ng production cost. Ngayon, pag kayo po ay bumili ng baboy sa Visayas and Mindanao. Ang baboy po sa Visayas and Mindanao, kasama po namin yung Vice President doon ng Visaya at Mindanao, umaabot po na 180 to 200 pesos per kilo. So kung yan po ay dadalhin dito sa Metro Manila, aabot po ng 250 na dahil po sa shipping, sa mga mortality, kaya po aabot ng 250. Pag yan po ay kinatay ng traders at yan po ay binenta sa retailers na sabit-ulo, abot na po yan ng 310 to 320 per kilo. So talaga pong pag pinatungan ng mga 50 pesos, yan po yung reasonable na patong ng retailers, talaga nga abot po ng 370. So yan po yung katotohanan. Hindi po yung sinasabi na meron nag-hoarding kasi ang baboy po sa ngayon hindi niyo pwedeng i-hoard. Sapagkat meron pong African swine fever, sino po ba yung magtatago ng baboy? Nagmamadali nga po kami magbenta, basta lumaki na. Kaya po merong nagbebenta 60 kilos, 70 kilos. Dapat po yan 100 kilos eh. Pero yan po ang epekto. Kaya yung pong hoarding sa mga parte po na magbababoy, imposible pong gawin yan. At yung traders, ma'am, yes ma'am.
I just want to ask question kasi inaaralan ko yung imported. Ang cost nila is something like 72 per kilo. Tapos kayo sasabihin nyo, ilang kayo? 180 ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Ba't ganun kalayo? Kasi we have to solve that. Yan yung competitiveness. Yan ang ginagawa namin sa rice ngayon eh. Ano reason na ang foreign, they can produce it something like 72, kayo 180?
Ma'am,
masyado malayo.
Hindi po tayo naniniwala doon na 72. Kasi po...
No, kasi nilalagyan pa nila ng tariff, tapos yung ano pa...
Tama po, ma'am. Yan po yung
study may study akong binasa tiningnan ko 72, tapos lalagyan ng tariff, 100 plus, tapos lalagyan pa nung kasi manggagaling sa abroad, so may transportation cost. Kasi dapat malaman natin ano ba talaga ang cost natin relative to imported para mahabol natin yung cost ng imported para competitive tayo. At least after the tariff and the transportation, competitive na dapat kayo. Para kahit na sila mag-open ng importation, hindi kayo takot kasi kaya nyo lumaban. Yun ang gusto ko malaman, di ba? Para yung halimbawa, may problema tayo, resolvehin natin yung problema natin para competitive kayo. Para kahit sila magpa-import, wala tayong worry kasi we can compete. Yun ang
Yes, ma'am. Ang problema po, ma'am, yung pong i-declare na 76 pesos, sa tingin ko po, may undervaluation dyan. Kasi po, tinanong ko po yung mga importer na lehitimo, $3 to $4 po ang karne ng baboy pag kayo nag-import yung karne mismo. So, ibig sabihin, 150 to 200 pesos po ang presyo. So, meron pong undervaluation, yung pong technical smuggling. Malaki po ang ating nangyayari dyan. Hindi lang po yun. Meron din po tayong misdeclaration. Yan po mga mechanically deboned meat, fats, offals, di yan po pinadadaan. Sa halip po na karne ang ideklara, yan po, napakalaki po. Isipin po ninyo, pag itong 3 taon, nag-import po ng chicken, 1 billion kilos. Ang in-import pong mechanically deboned meat, 700 million, almost 70% po. So, naniniwala po kami kasi pagka po dineclare niyo mechanically deboned meat, 5% lang po ang tariff.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Pagka po manok na mismong karne ay 40%. Malaki po ang naiiwasan nilang taripa. Sa baboy po ganun din. Isipin po ninyo kung ang presyo ng baboy ay 150 pesos. Ay dapat po yan 40%. So 60 pesos po ang taripa. Dinideklara po nilang opals. 30 pesos na lang po yung presyo ng opals. Di pag inyo pong binigyan ng tarif na 5%, ay 150 lang po ang binabayaran taripa. Madalit sabi po.
So maybe we can ask the Department of Agriculture to make a study, 'di ba? To submit to us para we can devise a way by which we can help you be competitive and then ma-prevent natin yung mga ganyan na practices. Maybe.
Just a quick objection.
Yes, Senator Kiko.
Yes, kay Congressman Briones, baka pwedeng bigyan nyo kami ng dokumento tungkol dun sa undervaluation. Kasi sabi nyo, may mga importer na $3 to $5, pero binavalue lang ng 70 pesos. O kaya wala pang $1.
72 nakita ko after taxes 112
Yeah, yun din ang nabanggit natin, ma'am. Kaya nga po
nakita ko sa study Oo.
Kaya nga ho, ma'am, nung nasa NFA tayo bilang chairman, talagang meron talagang pwedeng ayusin dyan sa importation na yan at yakin tama ang presyo at hindi itong undervaluation o technical smuggling. Talagang talamak yan
So that we can help the livestock industry, di ba?
That is right. The local livestock industry deserves a process of importation that is free of undervaluation and technical smuggling dahil papatayin talaga ang local na industriya pagka ganyan ang labanan. Hindi tama, hindi patas.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chairperson.
Yes.
Sasagot po kami kayo sa inyo.
Yes, after you, Senator Binay, after former Congressman Briones, yes?
Yung pong dapat po talaga tutukan yan. Yan pong technical smuggling. At isasubmit po namin sa inyo yung mga presyo sa galing abroad at versus po sa presyo dinideklara ng mga importers. Bukod na po yung misdeclaration na sinasabi ko kanina. At isa pa po yung ating pong ASF para po matigil yan. Dapat po bigyan ng bayad yung ating mga tinatamaan ng ASF, 10,000 per head.
Talagang binabayaran naman Binabayaran kaya lang mabagal. Kaya yung mga may ASF, kasi nangyari din yan sa amin dito sa Bacoor Kaya yung mga ASF, inaano nila ipagbili na lang kasi mabagal ang bayad ng DA. Oo, kaya pinupusit nila, naghahawahan tuloy. Oo, yes.
Ang binabayaran po yung 20 heads below lamang po, ma'am. Yung po at inuutang pa ng matagal. Yung po naman,
yun matagal ang bayad. Oo, alam ko yun. Paano mo naman ililimit na 20 heads and below kung lahat may ASF?
Tama po, wala pong tulong doon sa 100 heads, 50 heads, sa mga commercial. Kaya po, mabilis kumalat yung ASF. Dahil po, siyempre, mababangkrap ka, ang iba po napipilitang magbenta nung mga natitira pang buhay. At yung iba naman po, natakot. Kaya po yung 5 million heads na nawala, ang dahilan po, marami ho ay natakot. Nasa kabilang bayan pa lang, nagtanggal na ho ng mga alaga sapagkat alam nila na pag tinamaan ang kanila ng African swine fever, wala naman pong tulong. Ang laki pala ng pera natin doon sa Bayanihan 2. Ay dapat po, yun ang inuna. Lagi po sinasabi ng Department of Agriculture, wala pong pera. Ay noong una po kami pa nag-abono Actually, 12 million po inabono namin ng Tamanyo Rizal.
At saka nagtutulong din ng LGU dyan. Yung binabayad ng Department of Agriculture, I think mga 5,000 ba o 6,000. Tumutulong 4,000 tapos ang LGU may nagbibigay din. Kasi yan ang nangyari sa amin dito sa Bacoor, nagbigay din ng LGU.
Tama po. Ang ano nga po, dapat po para matigil ASF, hindi po kasi yung programa po ng ating DA, hindi pa rin, nung pa po yung sinabi namin, September 2019, pag hindi nyo binayaran lahat at tatamaan, at hindi kayo nag-alat ng malaking budget, mauubos yung baboy, mababaliwala po yung kanilang programa para matigil. Ano nga po ang nangyari? Ngayon po, kung hindi na naman po yan babayaran, yung pong natitira sa Visayas at Mindanao, mauubos din po yan, yung 30% dito sa Luzon, ganun din po ang mangyayari. Kaya dapat po, malaki ang problema, dapat po mag-alat tayo, yung pala naman may pondo.
You just make a report to us. Can you please, former Congressman Briones, to submit a report to us on this so we will know, so we can discuss it with the Department of Agriculture kung paano magandang gawin. Diba?
Yes, ma'am. Isasubmit po namin kung ano po yung kailangan namin may parating sa inyo, ma'am.
We now recognize Senator Binay. Senator Binay.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chairperson. For confirmation lang ko kay Secretary Dar, tama po ba yung narinig ko na ang dahilan sa pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin ay hindi dahil sa shortage but more of market manipulation? Tama po ba?
Let me clarify that.
Siguro, Secretary Dar, siguro umpisahan muna natin sa pork. Ano ho ba talaga? Dahil ho ba sa shortage or dahil may nagmamanipula ng presyo?
Nationwide, mayroon pa rin tayo very thin supply. Pero dito sa Metro Manila po, karamihan ang talaga 12 billion na tayo. So nagmo-mobilize po tayo galing green zone areas. So nakita po rin namin na may nagmamanipula. Totoo po yun. Wholesalers yung mga biyahero. Totoo po yun.
Pero Secretary Dar, kulang din ho talaga naman ng supply ng local production for pork.
Kulang dito sa Metro Manila po kasi galing ang supply sa mga green zone sa Pilipinas. Ito na po yung mapa para makita po ninyo yung hog surplus sa deficit area. So mayroon pa tayong surplus sa mga green zones and other areas.
Okay. And then pagdating naman po sa manok,
Kunan mo nga to.
kulang ho ba ang local production or it's more of market manipulation?
Sa manok po ay yung pagtaas ng presyo beyond the SRP ay ito naman nagre-recover po ang poultry industry. Alam naman natin lugmok sila nung lockdown na sobrang lockdown ay talagang lugi ang poultry industry. This time around, nag-adjust na kami. Yung SRP ay dati 130. Ngayon, ang recommendation po natin sa price ceiling for a price freeze ay 160 po. So, mag-a-adjust tayo po kasi nagre-recover ang poultry.
Madam Secretary,
Opo.
parang mahina ho. Pwede ho pakiulit?
Yung sa chicken po, alam naman natin during last year's nung nag-umpisa ng pandemya naming nagsara mga businesses, restaurant, talagang bagsak ang poultry industry last year. And ngayon, they are starting to recover. Kasi doon sa cash and food aid, meron rin tayong tulong na bibili yung 890,000 unraised farmers ng chicken and ito. So ngayon, price natin dati 130, ina-adjust po natin.
We'll go there sa tariff. May tariff eh.
So, Secretary, yung sa manok, hindi ho dahil sa market manipulation.
Hindi po. Lang nag-manipulate doon. It's just adjusting to the demand because nag-shift na yung mga consuming public na iba towards chicken. So, pataas yung demand ng chicken.
Okay. Thank you,
Madam Chairperson,
Madam
just
Chairperson.
a quick intervention. Very quick.
Secretary, Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, just for Secretary Dar, dapat siguro meron kayong interagency task force with BOC at yung BAI para dito sa undervaluation dahil nagre-recommenda kayo na buksan muli ang MAB at palawigin yung importation. Baka mauwi dyan, puro undervaluation ang mangyari. Talo na ang DOF dahil bagsak ang koleksyon, talo pa ang local industry dahil pumasok yung mga imported na mura. Tapos, yun na nga, problema na naman para sa livestock industry. Is there a coordination between the BAI, the BOC, or the DA and the DOF regarding itong pagpasok ng mga importation ng karne?
Po, yung ugnayan ay naandyan pero pinapagigting pa namin. Nag-usap na kami kay Chairman
Hindi na
Guerrero.
lang tayo nito. Humingi na lang tayo niyan. Sabihin kay Reggie yung report nila.
Ng mga smuggled items. At saka dito sa undervaluation, babantayan po natin yan.
Yes, kasi if I remember, Secretary, isang dahilan ba't pumasok yung swine flu dito dahil dyan sa mga smuggled at hindi nababantayan at pinalalampas ng ating regulatory agencies itong imported na karne. Hindi po ba? Ganun katindi ang epekto ng hindi maayos na pagpapatupad ng ating mga regulatory agencies ng kanilang mga tungkulin. Ina-undervalue, pinapayagan ng smuggling. Kaya nagkalat ang sabi nga nila, kaya nagkalat ang ASF dahil diyan sa smuggling na hindi nababantayan. Hindi po ba?
Tama po yun. Maraming smuggled items hanggang ngayon dumadating. At yun ay nakikita namin may ASF pa rin.
Madam Chairperson, with the
Yes.
Senator Kiko, related dun sa pinupunto niya. Kasi kung matatandaan ho natin, Sen. Cynthia, di ba nung nag-hearing ho tayo sa bigas, ang reklamo ng DOC ay yung kakulangan ng tao. Ganun din ho ba yung problema natin pagdating din sa pork and other products? And siguro, ilan ho bang personnel ang
Ang bai.
nakalagay, ang bae, ang naka-assign dun sa mga iba't ibang ports natin?
Okay, ang ganito pong sitwasyon, we have minimum number of staff in our quarantine areas. Ang problema is smuggling po. So alam naman ninyo, hindi dadaan sa normal process ng smuggling. Yung undervaluation, that's the responsibility of the Bureau of Customs. Ganun po.
Yes.
Remember it correctly. And Senator Kiko, kung matatandaan mo, di ba dun sa bigas, yung, ano tawag dun, yung mga basag ba? Kasi
Yung
walang
PPI.
technical, di ba walang technical capability ang DOC.
BOC. Oh, yeah. Tama po yun. Napag-usapan yun. Oh.
So how do we empower them or how do we solve that deficiency? Kasi I am sure, ganyan din ang problema natin dun sa technical smuggling when it comes to pork.
Can I ma'am, Madam
Yes.
Chair? Kasi po, may malaki po tayong kakulangan. Yung pong tinatawag nating first border inspection facilities. Hindi na po natin na-check kung ano po yung talagang dumarating, kung na-undervalue, kung merong misdeclaration. At higit sa lahat po dyan, dahil wala po tayo niyan, yung pong iba't ibang sakit nakakapasok po sa Pilipinas, sa mga alaga nating hayop, pati po sa halaman, mga pananim, napapasok po tayo ng mga peste. Kasi po yung napakahalaga, bago po sana papasukin dito sa ating bansa ang lahat ng ini-import, ay wala po tayo niyan. Meron po tayong budget, pero hanggang ngayon po, 2019, yan po yung alam ni Sendo, ay wala pa po tayong itatayo. Ang may iwasan po sana natin, technical smuggling, dahil kami po pwedeng maglagay ng mga task force na pwede pong tumulong para po magbantay kung iisa po ang dadaanan. Pero kung hindi po namin alam kung saan dumadaan yan, hindi po natin talaga matutulungan bantayan yung smuggling at saka yung pong sakit. Patuloy po
Tanungin natin si Secretary Dar kung ano ba yung, wala ba tayong budget para dyan sa border facility na yan, Secretary Dar?
Last quarter ng 2019, nag-approve tayo sa cabinet at inaprobahan ng mahal na Pangulo yung budget ng 5 agricultural commodity examination area, yung ASEA po. Ang nirelease last year ay para sa isa lang, almost 500 500 million ang isang budget po ng first quarter. At ito na ngayon ay under process with TPA for the area at ito ongoing po ang implementasyon na pag-declare na yung area, ready na po yung procurement.
Secretary Dar, bakit hindi nyo lagyan ng budget? Kung apat, ilan ba ang 5?
5 times 500 million.
O di 2.5 billion. Kung saan nyo lang linalagay ang 2.5 billion nyo Katulad nung inyong fertilizer. Ang laki-laki palagi ng budget niyan, pero lahat ng farmers sinasabi hindi dumadating sa kanila yan. Bakit hindi nyo bawasan yun, lagyan nyo nito, tapos bigyan na lang natin sila ng composting facility para they will make their own fertilizer. Kasi ang fertilizer na yan, meron na naman nag-file na na iimbestigahan na naman kayo sa fertilizer scam. Sawang-sawa na ako dyan sa fertilizer scam na yan Bakit hindi nyo bawasan yan at maglagay na kayo nito para kailangan din niya ng rice, kailangan din niya ng pork, kailangan ng everybody in the agriculture. Ba't hindi nyo lagyan ng budget? 2.5 billion
Composting. We will add sa composting facility.
Yeah. Kasi meron na naman nag-file na iimbestigahan na naman kayo sa fertilizer scam. Sawang-sawa na ako dyan sa fertilizer scam na yan. So, dapat turuan na lang natin silang gumawa ng sarili nilang fertilizer para hindi na tayo naiimbestigahan dyan. At dali mo na lang dito sa, yung iba, dito sa facility na to. Kasi ito ang palaging pinag-aawayan yung smuggling. At saka yung mga diseases na pumapasok sa ating bansa. Katulad yan, patay na ang pork industry sa ASF. Katatapos lang nung avian flu, may ASF na naman. Ano na naman ang susunod?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Significant realignment.
Madam Chair.
Sino yan?
Rosendo. Madam Chair.
Sino to? Sendo. Mr. So. Okay, you're recognized.
First, yung first border natin, kung wala pang fasilidad, test, yung test ng ASF, dapat tinetest yung mga dumadating na produkto. Hindi lang yung mga smuggled, pati yung mga dumadating. Kasi nasa Food Safety Act yan na dapat sinusuri yung mga dumadating na kargamento, kung positive ba ito sa ASF, positive ba ito sa avian flu. Hindi natin chinecheck yung lahat na dumadating na produkto. Other countries, ginagawa yan. Kung nag-export tayo ng banana sa China, pag sinek nila may bacteria, pini-recheck yan. Kagaya ng Belgium, nag-export tayo ng chicken wings sa China, nakita nila COVID positive, may contamination, binan nila. So, ganun din dapat tayo. Wala tayong pagkasuri dun sa mga produkto na dumadating.
On that point lang, Madam Chair, on that point, just to immediately. So meron ba tayong datos, Sendong, ng mga na-reject na mga karne? Meron ba tayong datos noon? Ng BOC, meron ba?
Secretary, sumulat kami kay Secretary William Dar, nabigay sa atin yung, sabi kasi nila nagte-testing sila
Yes. So
sulatan namin sila to give us the record.
Yeah.
Sumulat kami sa Malacanang.
Niluluto si Secretary Dar.
To give up record. 6 na buwan na hindi pa binibigay yung record.
Tangin na patay ka.
Okay.
Who's that? Who's talking?
Si Mr. De Jesus.
Who's talking? Who's let us, Mr. Soto, i-off nyo muna yung inyong Okay, go ahead, Mr. So.
Ma'am, in point, dapat i-submit ng Office of the Secretary ng Department of Agriculture itong mga datos tungkol sa mga ni-reject na imports because of quality. So that we have a sense, ano ba talaga ang ngipin.
And I think we should force them to really have a budget sa next budget na magkaroon ng border facility, di ba? Finally, oo. Kasi tayo rin yung gagawa ng budget. Huwag na tayong pumayag na walang border facility sa next budget.
Madam Chair, tsaka kasi for example, yung mga nag-import ng fertilizer, yung FPA yan, require sa mga importer, maski hindi na gumastos yung yung agency require yung mga importer to submit the STS percentage kung ito ba is yung quality tama. So like this, itong mga produkto na pumapasok sa atin, dapat sinecheck din, ito ba ay may ASF, ito ba is contaminated with COVID. Very important yan kasi tayo sinecheck natin mga tao pumapasok dito. Pero kung contaminated yung mga dumadating, pwede yan ma-transmit sa tao.
Pati yung coconut, hindi ba may sakit din yan na nanggaling sa Indonesia ba noon na nagpunta sa atin?
Yes,
Buti na lang bumagyo, nadala ng bagyo yung contamination sa coconut. Di ba malaking problema din natin yung coconut noon?
Madam Chair, ako yung...
Can I just recognize the presence of Senator Subiri? He's online. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Just very
Good morning,
quickly,
ma'am. Good morning po sa lahat. Good morning.
Just very
Senator
quickly.
Kiko, okay.
Ma'am, tama po kayo. Yung Cocolisap noong 2014.
Cocolisep, yeah.
Galing po yan
Pumasok din.
smuggled na palm, ornamental palm. And ang is from Indonesia, hindi yan natutukan, nakapasok, kaya nagkalat. Yung bagyo, ma'am, nakatulong ng malaki yun.
Oo, yung bagyo. Nawala
Mga kalahating milyong puno ang nagkaroon ng natural pruning. Kasi part of the intervention is to prune.
Yes.
Nung anong bagyo, of the 2+ million affected, kalahating milyon na prune dahil doon tumama yung bagyo. But tinuloy pa rin yung pruning doon sa areas na hindi tinamaan ng bagyo, pero malaking bagay yung 500,000 trees dahil natural pruning ang ginawa ng bagyo.
Okay,
that's
Madam Chair, with the audience of Senator Kiko.
Yes.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Speaking po kasi of bagyo, malaking dahilan po ng pagkakaroon ng stable na supply ng pagkain para mapanatili din ang presyo, ay pwede pong itanong kumusta po yung kalagayan ng produksyon sa Bicol at Cagayan na sinalanta ng mga bagyo. Nagawa na po ba yung mga nasirang irigasyon doon, ang mga daan at iba't iba pang mga facilities para maibalik sa dati ang produksyon? Pati ang pagbiyahe ng mga ito para makaambag sa pagpapasagana sa agri at food supply. At ganun din po sa Batangas, andyan po si dating Rep. Briones, sa Batangas na nauna ng salata sa pagputok ng Taal. Ilang porsyento na kaya ang natapos na reconstruction ng mga lugar na ito? Ang post-disaster rehab po, Madam Chair, ay nangyayari sa loob ng maraming taon. Maaari bang tapusin ang mga ito kasama ang Marawi, halimbawa, bago pa matapos ang election ban sa 2022 at bago po matapos ang administrasyon? Sabi po kanina kasi ni Secdar, Madam Chair, whole of nation approach. So pati po dito sa pagtugon natin tungkol sa presyo ng mga pagkain, kasama na po ang pork, kumusta po yung ating disaster rehab para ma-recover yung agri-production capacities natin, Madam Chair?
So we can ask Secretary Dar to answer.
Yes, please, Madam Chair. Salamat po.
Tamang-tama po yung katanungan ni Senator. Yung last quarter, di ba, binakon, tama po ang mga Bicol. Lahat ito, mga region. So, tamang-tama naman, Disyembre ay nagplano na kami para dito sa rehabilitation. At yung budget po ay yun.
Secdar, very spotty po yung audio nyo. Importante pa naman yung sagot nyo.
Hello po.
Mahina, Secretary Dar. Lakasan nyo yung audio.
Can you properly?
May problema sa audio.
May naka-unmute po dyan sa iba. Kung pwede, mas maganda. Lahat ng meeting natin. Ang chairman lang ang hindi naka-unmute plus the speaker. Opo, salamat po ulit. Ang
Mas mabuti na po,
sinasabi
Sec.
ko Opo, Senator Risa, magandang umaga po. Yes, our
Magandang
regional
umaga po.
field offices, nangyari pa nung itong Enero na nag-coordinate na sila sa mga provincial and other local government units. So we used the budget starting 2021 plus yung QRF funding natin. So yun po ang binibigay po natin sa mga iba't ibang apektado dito po sa Luzon. So automatic naman yun ang ginagawa po ng DA na yung QRF funding ang unang gagamitin, then followed by the appropriations na nakukuha po natin. So tuloy-tuloy po yun ang pagrehabilitasyon.
Sec, wow, isang follow-up lang. Mga nasa ilang porsyentong natapos na po yung rehab dun sa mga damage na agri-facilities at infra, kasama na po yung directly nag-aapekto sa pork industry natin. At matatapos na po ba iyon by election ban or at least by end of admin?
Well, yung mga infrastructure na masyadong naapektuhan, talaga you cannot do it now kasi hindi naka-allocate, walang pondo na naka-allocate. So only those that we can repair, yun po ang bibigyan namin ng pondo para magamit agad. At doon sa mga additionally funding coming from OCD, doon sa disaster, yun po ang gagamitin natin once they're ready and released.
Salamat, Sec Dar. Salamat, Sen Kiko. Salamat, Madam Chair. Siguro itulak pa rin ng komite maging mas proactive pa yung DA at ibang attached agencies nila para dun sa repair ng nasalanta ng iba't ibang sakuna para talagang suportahan yung recovery ng lahat ng agri-subsectors kasama na po yung sa pork industry. Salamat, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair? Madam Chair? Nako, Madam Chair, hindi.
Sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
hindi related lang ho kay dun sa
Yeah, okay.
pagtatanong ni
Senator
Sen Risa.
Binay.
For submission lang ho ng DA kung ano na ho yung status pagdating dun sa Taal volcano eruption, nung rehabilitation nila. Para mas alam ho natin yung detalye. Taal volcano, yung mga nagdaang bagyo.
We will submit, Madam Chair.
Thanks.
And I think we should ask DNR also and DPWH, may additional budget sila dyan in addition to DA. Especially sa infrastructure at saka sa mga river. May additional budget ang DNR at DPWH.
Madam Chair, hingi rin po please lahat yung kopya ng mga report na iyon. Salamat po, Madam Chair.
So we move that they will submit a report on the status of their rehabilitation of those na na-destroy ng typhoon, ng volcano, plus yung na-damage ng ASF. And then makita natin, bigyan lahat ng kopya ang mga senador ng kanilang report ng DA.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Chester Tan ng National Hog Farmers Association is requesting that they be heard. Okay, so we recognize Mr. Chester Tan.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senators. Thank you for giving us a chance. So, just a few minutes of manifestation. First is I want to clarify the cost structure that the DA have made for the swine producers, and I will not reiterate or our Madam Chair on her opening statement. She already read the letter submitted by the National Federation of Hog Farmers Inc. and the view of the stakeholder. Just we want to understand the consumer side with all the agri products increasing, no? Medyo mahal na po yung mga produkto ngayon. As our DTI Secretary Mon Lopez have said, and we have discussed this a few days ago in the meeting, as a producer side, we want to explain that we invested a lot on the livestock industry and continue to invest even with the high inputs. Remember po, our inputs right now is tripled for breeders to begin with. And the raw materials imported and local increased by 20 to 30%, especially imported raw materials like soybean and other imported raw mats. And our business right now, before the ASF, our risk cost is around 5 to 10% only. But right now, with the post-ASF problem, we add the risk cost of almost 30 to 40%. Ano pong purpose? What is the reason behind that? Bakit po kailangan merong allowance or margin? This is to encourage all the stakeholder or the livestock swine, especially in Visayas, Mindanao, to continue the business na wag pong tumigil. So, nabanggit na po kanina, dito po sa Luzon, we are left with 25% producers. But Visayas, Mindanao, we want to protect kasi po nasa 90% pa po. Maliit lang po ang puminto. So, maybe on this day, the producers will, yung offer po na the producers will go to importation, sasalin na kami doon sa mga importer. Maybe in the future, baka po sumali yung mga producers. But remember, kami pong mga producer, we are pro-local. Talagang gusto namin paramihin ang local. If in case po na na mag-i-import, meron tayong kasama sa local producer na gustong mag-import, ang gusto rin po nila is magkaroon ng tariff. Kasi po, ang tariff, very important po yun. Kagaya ng mga sinabi ng ating mga senator, na ang tariff po ang pinagkukunan natin ng pondo ng ating gobyerno. Pag tinanggal pa po yung tariff, wala na po tayong mapagkunan. So, kahit po mag-import, kailangan po we pay our tariff. And of course, we want to continue our communication with the Department of Agriculture. So, really, the same way as a local business producer who also pay, kami po, nagbabayad po kami ng taxes. Sabi nga po ng mga member namin dito sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, sa commercial lang po, the backyard sector is mas kabisado po nila, small scale, mas kabisado po nila Chairman Rosendo and Kaniki Briones. But for the commercial stakeholder, as much as we want to request na pag-usapan po namin yan sa ating gobyerno for a few years or 5 years of tax exempt, but we know our government need our taxes badly. So we just continue na lang po, hindi na lang kami hingi, hayaan na lang nyo po kami doon sa aming margin, and we will not ask for any exemption sa taxes. Pero sana ganun nga po, pero kailangan nga makatulong tayo sa gobyerno, saan pa kukuha ng pondo. And also, pinapaalam din namin, our neighboring countries dito po sa Asia, they also suffer the same thing. Mataas rin po ang mga presyo nila, lalo rin po sa swine. So, pare-pareho po tayo lahat. Ngayon, etong lastly, I want to mention regarding dito sa price freeze or ceiling or cap. Maybe the suggested price of Department of Agriculture is too low. Of course, ayaw rin po namin yung 400 plus, napamahal naman po yung sa wet market na 400 plus. Pero 310 is, I think, too low for Luzon. Dapat po yung kanina binanggit po ni Madam Chair, Cynthia Villar, na at least man lang 330 ba o 340 to 360, 370. And then, ito na po yung tanong kanina, saan po nanggagaling, bakit po mahal? Sa retailer po ba, wet market vendor, sa trader po ba o producer? So, very short lang po, yung sa wet market po, I can speak in producer, mas sure ako, but I can give a little pointers regarding the traders or yung wet market vendors. Siguro po, mas maganda makapag-interview tayo ng talagang mga traders and wet market. Pero ang analyze po namin yan, Madam Chair, yung wet market po, dati po, nagbebenta ako ng 10 ulo, nagiging 5. But my expenses, rental is the same. So, for me, as wet market vendors, talagang dadagdagan ko po yung margin as a businessman o businesswoman. Ganon din po yung sa trader, yung nagpaparating po ng galing Visayas, Mindanao na 200 heads o 100, nagiging kalahati lang. So, meron pong mga risk factor po doon. So, yun po yung kaya siguro nagiging mahal doon sa trader and wet market. Of course, pwedeng tanungin natin sila mismo para malaman natin bakit ganon yung margin nila. I can speak of our producer. So sana ang hiling namin is parang siguro bonus na lang po sa ating mga stakeholder yung margin na sabi kong may additional risk cost. And itatanong nyo po sa amin, bakit po kayo maglalagay ng risk cost kung before is 5 to 10%? Bakit po ngayon gusto nyo nasa 30 o 40%? Hindi ba masyadong malaki po yan, yung 30 to 40%? Ang sagot po namin dyan is, we just base this on doon po sa programa ng Department of Agriculture, yung sa, I think crop agri insurance, something na pag, if in case what happened to the business, 40% lang po yung makukuha ng value. So for our stakeholder, kasama na yung small scale, para mabuhay sila, we have to add our risk cost na tinatawag. Kasi yun lang din po ang makukuha namin. Again, ang commercial farm po, wala pong makukuha if in case something happen to their business. So we are at our own risk. And yung doon naman po sa small scale, I'm not sure kung yung small scale kasi maraming kategory yan eh. Hopefully matulungan din sila ng ating gobyerno. And lastly, doon po nabanggit ni Secretary Dar regarding doon sa yung price. I think from Caraga is 130 as low as 135, but I think Caraga from the BAI yung BAI data, since last year I'm not sure kung meron po silang naparating dito sa Luzon, 1% or even 0%. So dapat po ang basis po natin ng presyo is doon po sa majority. For example po, the price of Mindanao is ranging from 180 to 200. So doon po tayo mag-range kasi po pag kinuha natin yung low, pero 1% o 2% lang sila, hindi po siya masyadong makakatulong sa pag-stabilize ng ating price. Again, very last is, hindi rin po kami papayag doon sa sobrang taas na presyo na 400, pero hinihiling na namin sana yung Department of Agriculture, tama po sabi ni Secretary mo na mag-adjust lang kasi dahil po sa inputs natin, mahal na rin po. Para po hindi mag-give up yung mga kasama natin sa Visayas, Mindanao, and dito po sa Luzon, they will think of repopulation. Kasi po pag hindi, yung target po natin na 5 to 7 years to recover 100% dito pa sa Pilipinas, baka po matatagalan pa, abutin tayo ng 10 years pagka hindi po naging maganda ating programa. So marami pong di nakakalam to. Hindi po to next month maaayos na or next year. 5 to 7 years po for recovery. Reality po ito, we have to admit. Thank you po, Madam Chair, for my time. Unless meron...
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Subiri, and then Mr. San Diego. Okay. Senator
Madam Chair.
Subiri.
Apo.
Hi, Amy. Senator.
I'm willing to allow Senator Amy ladies first.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Para matapos na yung usapin sa presyo, saan ba galing yung baboy na sinasabi ng DA nasa 132 pesos? Totoo ba yan? Saan ba galing yan? Kasi pareho kami ni former Congressman Briones, pareho rin kami ni na Chester, na ang pagkaalam namin 180, tapos papalo ng 210 to 220. Saan ba yung farm gate na 132? Yan ba yung mahiwagang baboy galing sa Jensen daw?
We recognize Secretary Dar.
Opo ma'am, let me give it by region para yung basehan natin. By
Yung
region.
132 lang, kasi ano ba talaga yung pinakamarami? Yung sa 70%, 60% ng Pilipinas, ano yung farm gate? Doon na tayo magbase para matapos na yung usapin ng price control.
Opo, Senaimi.
Huwag na lang yung mga isolated incident kasi hindi ako maniwala sa 132, nakakahimatay po.
Let me again make the clarification na okay, ang farm gate price ay break-even po. I mean, let me recast. Ang break-even point for the hog farmer ay 105 pesos. So these are the
Marami pong aalma sa 105 pesos.
cost of production po yun.
Naku po, maraming aalma dyan. Parang sa feeds pa lang, tapos sa biik, parang mabigat yata yung 105, hindi yata masyadong makatotohanan.
Well, that's what we have been monitoring all this time, Madam Senator.
Okay, but 105, I see Chester is getting agitated together with Rosendo. Pati po ako nagigitla dahil si Congressman Briones, nakangisi rin pareho kami eh.
Hey,
ano?
ganito po ang mga datos po natin. Can you give me the chance?
Yes po.
Sen Aimee, with your permission, baka pwede i-cite ni Secretary Dar kung saang lugar yung 105, kung saan
Yung
lugar yung
132, yung 132, saan ba yun? Kasi nung una narinig ko, Jensen daw eh.
Okay.
Sen Aimee, baka naman sa barn yan. Walang kumakain ng baboy sa barn. Kaya mura ang baboy.
Wala na nagpapalaki.
Ito po yung galing po sa mga regional field offices natin
Naku
na
naman.
farm gate price live weight. Cordillera region average is 170 pesos. Ang Ilocos region po, ang average ay 172 pesos. Ang Cagayan Valley po ay 180 pesos. Ang Central Luzon ay 170 pesos. Ang Calabarzon ay nasa 230 pesos. Average
With
po
all
ito.
due respect, Secretary, sa Cagayan at saka sa Bicol region, wala nga mabili kasi underwater pa po sila.
Yun po yung ongoing po, please. Please give me the chance, Senator Aimee, to read
Okay.
everything. Now, Mimarupa region, average 150. Doon mayroon 130 minimum hanggat 170. So, average lang inano natin. Averaging ito po. Bicol region, 144 pesos. Western Visayas, 134 pesos. Ang Central Visayas, 150 pesos. Eastern Visayas, 139 pesos average. Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula, 160. Region 10, Northern Mindanao, 131 pesos average. Davao Region, Region 11, 170. Soxargen, Region 12, 170. Region 13, Caraga, 185. Yun po.
Mataas.
Opo, mas mataas sa Caraga. Ang BARM ay tama yung sabi ni Senator Zubiri.
Kaya
Hindi na.
Madam Chair and Secretary, with all due respect, mukhang medyo outdated yata yung ibang datos natin. And even if there's perhaps incidental evidence that 130, 132 was the price per kilo of pork in certain areas. It probably was in such minuscule amounts as to be insignificant. Sana i-focus na lang natin sa larger volume, doon sa universe of pork prices, at doon tayo magbase para matapos yung usapin tungkol sa price control. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman po.
Madam Chairwoman, with the
Yes,
permission of majority floor.
Sure, Nancy.
And then,
Go ahead, please.
just another request for submission kasi parang may question mark dun sa kung paano nila nakuha yung presyo. Baka the DA can submit yung methodology na ginagamit nila when they get, how they get itong mga presyo. For submission lang po, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, we move that the DA would submit yung methodology nila sa pagkuha ng price of pork by region. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I now?
Yeah, we recognize Senator Migs.
First of all, maraming salamat po, Madam Chair, sa pag-take up ng issue na to. Marami po tayong mga kababayan na hirap sa presyong bilihin na yun. Hindi lamang sa karne or pork, pati lahat-lahat na ay umakyat na. So it's a problem of inflation that we have to address. But I would like to greet my dear friends, Secretary Dar of the DA, sir. Good morning. And of course, and Supermon Lopez, my dear friend of pareho po kaming white hair na Secretary Mon Lopez of the DTI, together with our colleagues from the different areas, Senator Amy, Senator Binay, and Senator Kiko. And of course, sa mga stakeholders na nandito po na yon, nakikita ko of course si Sir Nick, si Sir Sendong, and Stephen, Yusek Ordones, of course to kay Chester and all the others that are present. Magandang umaga po. Magandang umaga po. And there's a few points lang, Secretary, that I'd like to raise with you. Of course, I commensurate with you with the problems now. No? Aside from the pandemic, napakahirap gumalaw sa ating bansa at napakahirap magpadala ng iba't ibang goods to and fro different areas of the Philippines. I think the problem of the shortage of pork, kaya nagmamahal po dito sa Metro Manila, Madam Chair, sa amin po sa Mindanao, we have supply, no, a steady supply, lalo na mga areas na hindi pa tinatamaan ng ASF. Ang problema namin, Secretary, ganito, and alam po ni Secretary Lopez ito, the cabotage law, the law that limits the amount of ships that ply to and from the Visayas and Mindanao. I laud your plan to have an ASF, or rather a pork highway, no, an ASF-free highway, wherein our goods can go from Mindanao, Visayas to Luzon, which is badly needed right now in terms of pork. No? Ang problema, napakamahal at napakahirap magdala po ng produkto galing sa amin po sa inyo. Unlike in Ilocos, you can just go with the highway and diretso pababa south, or even Bicol north. Sa amin po, ilalagay pa yan sa reefer vans, dadalhin pa po sa, ikakarga po yan sa mga barko, or kung hindi, magroro. Ang problema naman po, Secretary, pag roro po sa kanila, pag pabalik, wala po silang karga, napakamahal ng shipment. Because definitely, kung wala po silang may karga, pabalik, ay talagang dodoble po ang gastos nila. So, we have to figure out how we can do that. Maybe you can talk to the shipping companies, Secretary, to come up with special lanes for pork, chicken, and meat, even vegetable products, para makarating po siya sa Manila na hindi ganun kalaki ang gastos. I think that will be helpful. Is that doable, Secretary? Baka you can, together with Secretary Mon Lopez, kasi kaibigan naman ni Secretary Mon Lopez lahat ng may-ari ng mga barko, from Gotong Lines to, of course, Dennis Uy of, I believe, To Go, nasa kanya na yata yung To Go, yung Chelsea Logistics. Baka there's a way that we can have special lanes to augment your pork highway para magkaroon po ng deliveries po sa Luzon. What could you say, Secretary? Would that be helpful?
Madam Chair, can I respond? Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Secretary. Yes, please.
maraming salamat, Sen. Migs. Very important intervention. And let me highlight kung ano na po yung ginagawa po natin in relation to that. In connection with the mobilization ng food supplies from Visayas and Mindanao, marami na tayong ugnayan with the Department of Transportation and the PPA Marina and the private shipping lines. So, nag-provide na po sila ng special space doon sa mga barko at reduce, if not very significant rate reduction. At the same time, kami rin sa DA ay we are subsidizing where need be kung from Visayas and Mindanao. So, ganun po ang temporary response po natin doon. Habang yung cabotage flow ay dapat we have really to strengthen and look at this as an economic intervention by way of having to see to it that transportation costs of agricultural and food supplies coming from Visayas and Mindanao must be given preferential fees para mas marami yung move ng food supplies from one surplus area to the next. We will do that. I mean, it needs amendment of the law, and we will do what is possible under the executive department.
Thank you, Secretary. Actually, with the intervention of Secretary Mon Lopez, the two of you, probably the DTI and the DA, can negotiate and dialogue with the ship owners already para kung pagkain po, priority lanes po siya. Hindi po siya, ang nangyayari minsan kasi kung pagkain, minsan nagkakaroon ng problema sa traders din, hawak na po nila yung mga shipment ng 40-foot containers. By the time that the shipment of food products are in the pier, minsan 2 araw po sila naghihintay doon, bulok na po yung pagkain, kaya hindi po siya napaprioritize. So maybe you can work out a MOA or an understanding of agreement, some sort with these shipping companies para mapabilis po yung transfer, at least some sort of suggestion. Kaya na po yan, Secretary, while we're amending the law, we're trying to amend the law, maybe on your level. Opo.
We will do
Thank you,
that.
Secretary. And another concern is, yung problema po natin, alam mo, I commensurate, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear about what had happened to our Luzon producers of pork. Marami po ang kaibigan apektado. I know them very well. They lost billions. Yung private producers lost billions of pesos. Meron po akong kaibigan in depression palagi. Hindi ko na babanggitin kung sino, pero they lost millions, tens of millions and billions worth of stock, and trying to recover is so difficult for them. I am happy that we believe in continuing the industry kasi mahirap naman magsira na altogether ang mga producers sa Luzon. At and even some areas of Mindanao, medyo natatamaan na rin kami. Kaya kami sa Bukidnon, takot na takot kami because in our boundary in Davao, meron na pong ASF, Gensan, meron na. So we're really strict in our biosecurity measures. But again, it only takes one individual na hindi po ingat at magpakanin baboy dun sa kanilang lugar. Buti sa amin, we already made sure na bawal na po yung kanin baboy, and we've talked to all the producers, large and small, na wag na pong gawin yun para ma-avoid natin yung ASF. But ang problema, Secretary, is restocking. I talked to, okay lang po yung large producers kasi meron po silang breeding stock. They do breeding stock, but even their imported breeding stock will run out eventually at magkakaroon po ng inbreeding, no? Eventually line breeding, magkakaroon ng inbreeding, magkakaroon ng defects, lalo na sa mga small producers. Ang sabi po nila, hirap na hirap po sila makakuha ng panibagong stock for restocking. So that is a big problem. So we have to figure out how we can also get stock once again to restock the farms that were hit by ASF but have no longer
nangyari sa mga buot na namamatay?
So, medyo yan ang isa sa mga problema, Secretary. At least I'm just putting this forward. These are what the complaints have been given to me by our producers in Mindanao. You can answer a bit later. But I see a light in the end of the tunnel. I see a light in the end of the tunnel, Secretary, and I know my dear stakeholders know about this kasi yung pasahan po namin ng information about this. This is the ASF vaccine that was produced in Vietnam. Apparently, meron na pong vaccine here. Let me just read the news item. Vietnam completed a study and pilot program for its vaccines for African swine fever and expected to start commercial production the second quarter of this year. Secretary, apparently it was quite successful. It is done by the NAVETCO, National Veterinary or JCS NAVETCO, under the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Ang galing-galing nila doon sa Vietnam. Imagine maybe we should ask our DOST and the DA to partner up. Maybe we can also develop our own vaccines, no? Taking cue from Vietnam, or we buy these vaccines from Vietnam, government to government, G to G. Secretary, it's a fellow Southeast Asian neighbor. We have an ASEAN protocol in place. Alam po ni Secretary Mon yan. I'm sure Secretary Mon can help you. We can talk to the trade and the agriculture ministers of Thailand. Humingi na tayo, magpila na po tayo, pumila na po tayo. And I think, I believe we have a good chance of being able to work with Vietnam because our brother Muslims in the region, I don't think Malaysia and Indonesia really have a large, I'm not sure, I may be wrong, but I don't think that they have a large pork industry, knowing fully well that maybe 90% of the population are kapatid natin na Muslim. But Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines can really take advantage of this, Secretary. Have you heard about this vaccine being developed in Vietnam, Secretary?
Madam Chair, can I respond? Yes, Sen. Migs, na balitaan ko at tinatawagan na namin yung Minister of Agriculture doon kasi yung Deputy Minister ay kaibigan po natin. And at the same time, US po ang tumulong sa kanila and we have been making that interaction dialogue with USDA. So, material transfer agreement ang gagawin na lang, mas mabilis. USDA can facilitate a technical grant. So, in train na po yung proseso na testing yung na-develop sa Vietnam with the assistance of US dito sa vaccine against ASF. Doon po sa breeder stock na nasabi po ninyo, Senator Migs, that's part of the repopulation plan na mayroon tayong mga multiplier breeder farms para na yung mas magandang mga breeds ang ipamimigay po natin sa backyard hog raisers.
Thank you, Secretary. Just a bit of information lang, additional on this vaccine. Banggitin ko lang po, yung Vietnam National University of Agriculture started researching a vaccine last March and so far has developed 4 vaccines, one of which has shown encouraging results out of the 13 of the 14 pigs tested. So napakaganda po yung resulta, almost over 90+% yung efficacy. So yan siguro, Secretary, maganda po yan. Let's work on that, government to government. Baka pwede rin natin i-produce yan dito, whatever is the pleasure of the Vietnam government, para lang mabigyan natin ng bakuna ating mga livestock, particularly pork or pig products here in the Philippines so that they can start fresh and start new. And hopefully, pag nabakunahan na po lahat itong areas na ito, hindi na mabubuhay ang ASF, eventually mawawala din yung ASF sa ating bansa. And yun lamang po, it was just some point of information. And on the issue of importation, Secretary, request lang po namin, if importation will be allowed, sana po yung traders na mag-import po ng pork ay idala po sa mga areas na apektado talaga. In other words, where there are high prices of pork, particularly in Luzon. Because baka pumasok sa aming area yan, sa Northern Mindanao, na medyo reasonable naman po yung price of pork doon, ay lalong babagsak po ang presyo ng pork doon sa kanila. They're not naman experiencing the 400 peso per kilo prices of Metro Manila. For example, in Cagayan de Oro, the prices there are between 250 to 280 or 300, pinakamataas na yan. Pero pag pumasok po yung imported pork dyan sa lugar na yan, ay definitely babagsak din ang presyo. So sana po yung mag-import ng ating pork ay dito lang po sa mga areas na kulang at wala pong pork available. So that we can stabilize the prices in these areas. Can I get a commitment, Secretary, on that?
On the last point raised, Senator Mig, ay very solid yun. So, dapat ang direction po natin. Doon din sa ASF vaccine, as I said, tamang-tama, we will exhaust all possible ways to have this as soon as possible and do the testing here and mass produce even the vaccine over here. We have initial estimate of the value of vaccine that we may be needing to cover all and sundry the hogs in the country. So, handa po tayo doon.
Maraming salamat, Secretary. Before I go, Madam Chair, I would just like to say thank you once again. And I forgot to greet Risa. I forgot to mention Risa Ontiveros, my fellow advocate of nutrition and feeding for our people. Maraming salamat, Secretary, and mabuhay po kayo. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Madam Chair, with the indulgence of the Majority Leader.
I just want to make a comment na siguro pag nag-import
Yes, Madam
tayo,
Chair.
huwag mo naman tanggalin yung tariff kasi that's the protection of our local. Oo. They can compete naman even with the tariff. Oo. Huwag naman natin tanggalin ng tariff. Yung pinag-import natin, okay na yon. Pero yung tatanggalan ng tariff, medyo kawawa na yung mga local producer kasi hard hit na nga sila tapos pakukumpit mo pa yung walang tariff hindi na sila makaka-recover niyan. Yun lang ang manifestation ko, Secretary Dar.
Madam Chairperson,
Madam Chair.
importation on the
Yes.
Yes, very quickly lang, ma'am. We maybe also request on the issue of importation para lang na monitor natin itong mga nag-i-import at yung volumes. Can we have the list of those who have imported various meats last year from the BAI and who are going to be applying this year if they are going to avail of that increase in the MAB? Sino-sino yung mga yan para ho na monitor natin, ma'am? The BAI can submit to the committee, ma'am.
Okay, we will have to ask DA to submit to us who are importing the list of importers and
For
would be
2020,
importers.
For 2020, those who are applying for 2021.
Who imported from in 2020 and those who will be importing in 2021.
And
So I will, yes, I will recognize Senator Risa, but I want to manifest that after Senator Risa, we recognize Attorney Bong Insyong of the Broilers Association of the Philippines, then Mr. Ernesto Ordonez from Aliansang Agrikultura, and Mr. Jess Chan from the Meat Importers Association. So we recognize.
Ma'am, I was supposed to be following Senator Mig's, Mr. San Diego.
Mr. San Diego, yes. Mr. San Diego, Mr. Insyong, Mr. Ordonez, and then Mr. Chan. Okay, we recognize Senator Risa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Isang follow-up question lang po kaugnay
Madam
nung,
Chair, Senator Riza,
Yes.
Riza, with your permission, can I just make a very quick statement? Because we are bring to finalize and create, so I have to leave this hearing.
Yeah.
So would it be
All right,
okay
Madam
if
Chair.
not
All
a
right,
statement
Cynthia.
in a minute? Thank you very much. I'd just like to put on record that even in the discussion on create, we have included agriculture as part of the incentivized activities. And this is in line with the recommendation of our majority floor leader, Senator Kiko, Senator Risa, Senator Villar, who are all agriculture advocates, and in line with my Committee on Sustainable Development Goals and Future State. We ensure incentivize.
Senator Pia, we cannot hear you. Senator Pia,
Hello?
you check your signal. We cannot understand.
Ayan, okay na po o nawala rin?
Meron na. Nawawala
Can you
kasi
hear me?
eh. No, we can hear you now.
Oh, my. Is it good now? Okay. So I just want to know that that is in tier 1 and also in tier 3 will receive the highest incentive on the use of technology and state-of-the-art agriculture. So I would like to also mention this to the good secretaries of DA especially, but also DTI, that ngayon pa lang maghanap na tayo ng mga investments dyan. Kasi the problems that we face now will continue to a certain extent, but if we can also improve our efficiency through the use of this kind of advantage of this law that we will pass, it will be a step in the right direction. And finally, I'd just like to commend Secretary Lopez when he mentioned the different SRPs, no, for various sales points. Kasi I encountered this problem with medicines way back about 10, 15 years ago na ang sinisisi yung mga butika. And yet, it's really the wholesalers who were not able to extend price differentials to them when it came to senior citizens discount. I'm just saying that it's a very similar problem na to kill the messenger. No? They would attack the retailer, and yet at the different points of distribution from the manufacturer to the distributor, doon may mga price issue. So I appreciate na binanggit yan ni Secretary Lopez kasi ang tagal, inabot ng ilang years yan sa medicine. Sana hindi na, and I feel the frustration of our colleagues who really focus on agriculture on this matter. So sana na-identify na rin lang, sana ma-implement agad. So yun lang po, maraming salamat. Thank you, Senator Risa, for allowing me to intervene before you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We recognize Senator Risa.
Salamat, Madam Chair. Isang follow-up question lang po dun sa unang tanong ni Majo kanina. But before that, for the record, Madam Chair, I share the position of the Chair against eliminating import tariffs para bigyan ng karapat-dapat na proteksyon yung ating lokal na hog industry. So sa tanong ko, Madam Chair, para kay Secdar, nahihirapan daw po talagang kumuha ng baboy sa malayong lugar mula Quezon halimbawa at iba pang mga farms na mas malayo pa sa NCR. Ano po ba ang sinasabi sa inyo, Sec, ng mga biyahero at paano matutulungan sila ng DA para i-ease yung transport ng pork supplies?
Aming ongoing support ay na yung mga nabigay po namin ng mga trucks and other mga equipment sa mga farmers cooperatives and associations ay immobilize na ito para regular yung tracking and shipping at cost. Pwedeng yung regional field office can also handle yung gasoline para mas mabilis pa yung pagdating ng mas maraming food supplies dito po sa metro area.
Well, salamat Secdar para dun sa maikling tanong. Pinick up ko talaga higit sa lahat yung sinabi niyong at cost. So maglo-look forward po ako kasama ng komite, i-oversee na talagang kung paano maisasagawa yun to contribute hindi lang sa ease of transport sa ating mga biyahero, pero overall yung access talaga ng ating mga kababayan sa supplies ng pork sa abot kayang halaga na meron ding sustainable return on investment sa iba't ibang stakeholders sa hog industry. So salamat Sec at salamat po Madam Chair.
We recognize Mr. San Diego.
Madam Chairman, this is Chester. If you allow me, I will just give one correction dun po sa good senator natin na Mig Subiri. If Ubra Joji will allow me, thank you.
Yeah.
Just correction lang po dun po sa binanggit ni Senator Subiri. The Bukidnon and General Santos City as of this date are still dark
ASF free.
Free pa po. Anyway, si Senator Subiri, kaibigan po natin yan. He has the passion sa livestock and a graduate of UPLB. So thank you po for that chance. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Joji, for allowing me.
ASF free pa daw ang Jensen. Oh.
Madam
Okay,
Madam Chair, may sisingit na ako.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Nag-announce ang Malacanang price freeze na yung Metro Manila.
Metro Manila lang.
Yeah.
Anyway, ano ang range ng price free? Wala pa nakalagay?
I think yung huling sinabi ni Secretary.
It's to 310?
Tsaka
280 to 310.
Yeah. Ang problema, Madam Chair, hinihingi natin sana kasi yung Gensan is nasa 170. Siguro yung price support dun sa vessel, no?
Yun na lang. O yung mahihirapan na yung price freeze, sabihin natin kay Secretary Dar, tulungan na lang sa transport.
Yes,
Secretary Dar, oo. Yung mga malalayo, oo.
Yeah.
Okay, we're asking, sabi ni Secretary Dar, okay daw. So, we recognize Mr. San Diego. Okay.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat, Madam Chair. Ako po ang chairman ng Philippine Egg Board at chairman po din ako ng United Broiler Raisers Association o UBRA. Nagtaas po ako ng kamay dahil may katanungan si Senator Nancy Binay tungkol sa broiler. The past several years, Madam Chair, ang poultry and livestock ang tinuturing ng DA na engine of growth sa agri-sector. Pero imbis po na bigyan ng incentive, pinapahirapan kaming lumago dahil nag-i-import ng maraming karne na nakakalaban po namin sa merkado. And it discourages us. Nakakalungkot po din na isipin na ang ugat po ng problema natin ngayon sa baboy, at sasabihin ko, lalaki din ang problema sa manok, ay ang importation. At ang magiging solusyon po natin ay mas marami pang importation. Yun po ang nakakalungkot. Tungkol po sa estado ng manok ngayon, may konting problema na po sa supply at sa tingin po namin, lalaki ang problema in this coming months. Sa itlog po naman, may problema din, pero may problema po ay ang mga layer farmers kasi parami po ang itlog itong taon na ito.
Parang hindi naman po affected ang itlog eh. Nakita ko yung mga prices sa itlog, hindi naman. Tsaka yung sa chicken po, maliit lang eh. In fact, ang 150 to 160 ba yun? Binasa ko yung mga range eh. So, I think pork ang malaki problema.
Opo. Malaki po, hanggang 180 po ang manok at may 200 po sa ilang market na sinangayunan po yun ng monitoring ng DTI.
Parang nilalagay nila sa manok 160, di ba? Ang price. Ako po, isinali yun. Oo.
Pero yan po kasi bunga po yan na hindi kami nakonsulta. Kasi mataas na po ang production cost. Para sa kaalaman nyo po, ang presyo po ng sisiw ngayon na dati mga 20 pesos lang, 48 to 50 pesos po ngayon ang isang sisiw.
Can you give us, can you give the senators your costings? Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Kasi para matulungan namin kayo kasi, talagang pinag-aaralan namin yung local costings tapos yung import para gagawa kami ng paraan na maging competitive kayo kasi that's the best way talaga. Mahirap kasi yung mga kartel-kartel, ang hirap i-control niyan eh. Pero pag competitive kayo towards yung mga imported, baliwala sila. Katulad na nangyari sa rice, parang partially solved because of right policies. So I'm as chairman of the Committee on Agriculture and Food, nag-iisip ako kasi kayo na lang po, natulungan ko na yung sugar, natulungan ko na yung fisheries, natulungan ko na yung rice. Kayo yung natitira yung livestock and chicken, yung chicken and livestock. So talagang I'm due to write a bill on how to help the livestock and chicken sector. And you have to help me kasi yung sa rice, kaya ako po na-write ng maganda yun, may study. May study talaga what's wrong with it. talagang pinakita na hindi tayo competitive sa Vietnam. So, inilagay ito sa study na it's labor, high cost of labor. So, mechanization yun. Tapos, pangit yung seeds. So, better seeds yun. So, alam ko na gagawin. Oo, sana meron ding study. Wala pa ako nakikitang study sa livestock and poultry na ano ba ang maitutulong sa kanila para sila maging competitive at lumaki yung income nila. So, I hope to be able to do that in the future.
Madam Chair.
Wala. Ay, sige po.
Siguro, Madam Chair, just to reiterate, kasi katulad nung na nabanggit ni Mr. San Diego, in fact, yung sa broiler industry for the past 5 years, surplus yung production niya, tama po ba?
Hindi na po surplus, pero posible po kasi maging self-sufficient tayo noong time po ni Secretary anong panahon ni Pinoy, nasabi na po namin yan, kayang maging self-sufficient. Kaya lang po, ang request namin, sana po tigilan yung importation para ma-attain namin yung goal namin na yan.
And Mr. San Diego, tama po ba na ang dahilan kung bakit bumagsak yung production natin noong 2020 dahil sa pronouncement ng DA na mag-i-import ng manok?
Hindi po lang pronouncement, Madam Senator, kundi talagang ginawa. Actually, sumulat po kami noong May 8 na kay Secretary Dar na kung po pwede, tigilan muna yung importation kasi yung main market po na imported na manok ng mga hotel, mga restaurant, nagsara. At yan po ay sinuportahan ni Senator Villar noong May 15 na sumulat din kay Secretary Dar na gawin yun. At nakapag-meeting din kami kay Secretary Dar, face-to-face meeting na nung June 15, sinabi namin, pag hindi po itinigil yan, ganito ang mangyayari. Atras po ang local production. At pagdating ng panahon, masishort po yung broiler. Hindi po nangyayari yung nire-request namin. Kaya ganyan po mararanasan natin ngayon.
And in fact, Mr. Santiago, kaya nga ho nangyari, pinatay na lang ho yung mga parent stocks. Tama
yes,
po ba yun?
Totoo.
And then,
Saka hindi lang po kaming maliliit, Senator, ang tumigil, nagbawas, may tumigil, may nagbawas, pati po yung malalaking kumpanya ng broiler dito sa bansa, nagbawas din po sila ng capacity. Kaya ganyan po yung nararanasan natin ngayon.
And sa ngayon mo, may kailangan nyo na naman ng panahon para mag-recover ulit. Tama po ba yun?
Opo, medyo matagal po yan. Yung panahon na yan.
Kung patuloy yung importation, this will not encourage the industry na mag-alaga ulit.
Pati po yung price freeze. Kung hindi po kami kikita doon sa price freeze, wala po mag-aalaga. Sa mahal po ng inputs, kamukha na yan, sabi ko nga po, all-time high po ang presyo ng sisiw. Ngayon lang po nangyayari na nag-50 pesos. Indication niya na talagang binawasan po yung mga breeders ng mga kumpanya dito sa Pilipinas na nasaktan ng gusto nitong mga nakaraan na sobra-sobra po yung in-import na manok. Para sa kaalaman po natin lahat, noong 2019 po, ang na-import nating chicken, 340 million kilos. Isang record po yan. Pero last year, na isang COVID year, kung saan kulang na mababa ang konsumo, ang in-import po natin ay 402 million kilos. Kaya po pinatay talaga at pinahirapan ng gusto ang lokal na industriya. Kasi
hindi ko naman maintindihan bakit yung mga nagbibigay ng importation hindi man lang mag-strategy. Katulad nun sa rice, kung kailan harvest season, i-import, sasabayan yung di galit-galit yung mga farmer. Ibig sabihin, common sense naman yun. Hindi mo sinasabay sa local production yung importation, hindi ba? Siguro malakas sa kanila yung mga importer, kaya palaging ganyan. Kaya nga gusto ko, gumaling kayo para na sa ganon, kahit mag-import sila, papatayin natin yung imported. Oo, kasi dapat permanent solution Like for example, sa rice, talagang mahina tayo relative to Vietnam. So kung maggumaling ang rice farmer, ang problema lang naman nila high cost of labor, which will be solved by mechanization, and better seeds which we can distribute, and field rice will teach them how to produce inbred seeds. Permanent solution yan. Hindi na tayo, miski mag-import sa Vietnam, talo natin. Oo, kasi they have to pay for duty and they have to pay for transportation. So, i-even na tayo. Siguro in 2 years, i-even na tayo na we can compete. Kasi palaging ganyan. And then I make the rice farmer na maliliit, diretso na sila sa retailer kasi bibigyan na sila ng dryer at saka milling machine. Meron namang maliliit na dryer at milling machine na ibibigay sa lahat ng cooperative. Yung ganun bang solution para matigil na yung palagi na lang taon-taon same problem and taon-taon hindi na solve ang problem. Kasi galing ako from the private sector, kaya sa amin, lahat is competitiveness. We have to compete in the marketplace. Kaya gusto ko, yung mga farmer natin can really compete because that is the permanent solution to the problem. Kasi hindi mo naman mapigil yung mga government agency na magbigay ng import permit Talagang practice nila yan. Ayaw sila tumigil. Siguro doon sila nagkakapera kaya ayaw nila tumigil na magbigay ng import permit. So, ako po ay nakikiramay sa inyo sa mga problema nyo. I just want to be able to file a bill na permanent solutions to our problem. We make our farmers competitive para kahit sila mag-import, kaya natin labanan. Yun lang ang habol natin talaga. That's the only permanent solution. Hearing ba tayo ng hearing na pagagalitan natin yung mga nag-i-issue ng import permit na yan? Sawa na ako ng kapapagalit din sa mga nag-i-issue na import permit. Sinabi ko nga dun sa nag-i-issue sa rice, tigilan mo na pag-issue, pag harvest season, wag mo sabayan yung mga farmer at bunganga yung mga farmer sa amin na ang bababa daw ng presyo ng rice when the solution is just not to import during harvest season, di ba? Para hindi walang competition yung local farmers, di ba? Di ba yun ang solution? So, I hope the hog industry and the chicken industry can give me a study which can be the basis for me to draft a law like ours.
Madam Chairperson.
Yeah.
Pero sa tingin ko, pagdating dun sa manok, it was self-inflicted Tama po ba, Mr. San Diego? Because kung hindi tayo nag-import na sobra-sobra pa.
Hindi nga mapigil Hindi mapigil Kahit sabihin mo na wag mag-import, ayaw tumigil. So, babantayan mo ng babantayan. Buti ko magbabantay ako. Paano sa future? Kailangan ang solution permanent. Hindi ako na lang ang magagalit. Tapos palagi nila ako sinisiraan kasi palagi ako nagagalit sa kanila.
Yes, Madam
Chair, siguro yun yung magandang pag-aralan. Baka yun ang kailangan nating i-legislate na kung paano sila pipigilan mag-import.
Yun nga. Kaya nga. That's why I want a study.
I think yung mga producers.
Yes.
I need 1 minute. Because I think yung mga producers natin, lalong-lalo na dun sa manok, okay naman sila Kaso naman, nung bumuhos itong imported chicken, doon na sila parang naapektuhan, malaking naapektuhan.
Alam mo, hindi mo naman mapipigil ang importation, kailangan lang may tariff. 'Di ba? Kasi bawal ngayon yung hindi maganda na pagbabawal mo importation. Ang dapat yung tariff malaki para it's not worthwhile for them to import, 'di ba? Kasi kung malaki ang tariff, mas mura ang local, di kayo bibilhin, 'di ba? Kaya ako, I don't agree na dapat tanggalin ng tariff because that is the protection of the locals, di ba?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, just said I need just for submission, additional submission lang po dun sa mga hog growers saka dun sa mga nag-aalaga.
Chicken.
Kasi alam naman ho natin na ang kailangan ngayon is how to help them repopulate.
Yes.
Diba? So maganda hong malaman, ano yung nakikita nilang programa ng Department of Agriculture, kung meron man, na talaga nakakatulong sa kanila.
Oo.
At
so, please submit.
Nila na programa na dapat gawing i-adopt ng Department of Agriculture? Yun lang po.
Yeah, I'm asking the chicken sector and the hog sector to submit to me. So I will read and I will study what can be done. Maybe in terms of legislation as much as possible kasi doon lang kami, and in terms of oversight, kung ano babantayan namin sa oversight function namin sa livestock and poultry. Yes, Senator Amy.
Yes, kaya nga po, dahil nga sa nangyari sa poultry, medyo natutrauma na rin yung sa pork importation.
Kaya nga.
Kasi unang-una, nakakatakot. Imagine yung Department of Agriculture na tagapagtanggol dapat ng magsasaka, pangungunahan na naman ang importation. Ano ba naman? Baliktad na yata ang mundo. Pagkatapos, sasabihin na hindi naman daw walang taripa kasi 5%. Ano ba yung 5%? Sa taas ng presyo.
Pero debone lang yun, ha? Hindi sila allowed ganun ng yung mga pork talaga, hindi allowed yun.
Inannounce
sa
at baka itaas at the end of 2022 to 10%. Naku naman, lukohon na yan. Pagkatapos, higit sa lahat, ang bali-balita sa industriya, meron na daw mga importation license na ibinigay sa mga usual suspects na paborito. Kaya, talagang umalingaw yung mga chismis na ganyan kasi nagiging vicious cycle talaga. Magdedeklara ng shortage, pagkatapos mag-i-import ng katakot-takot. Parang gawain na yun eh. Can we never convert this to a virtuous circle exactly as our chairwoman says and make our farmers competitive? Yun lang po.
Oh. So siguro yan na ang ating message kay Secretary Dar. Hindi pwede yung importation na walang tariff. Lakayan mo tariff to protect the local. Hindi pwede yon. Alam mo sa aming 'di ba? Parang naiisip mo gumagawa ng ganiting situation para maka-import. Kasi gustong-gusto mag-i-issue ng importation. Ano ba 'to ginawa? Kasi kung titingnan mo, hindi naman ganito no October, November, biglang ngayon lang January, biglang tumaas ang presyo. Para hindi naman ganito last year eh. O ngayon lang January nag-spike. Ano, ginawa yun ng trader para maka-import sila? Dapat pagdudahan yun eh.
Oo, alam po ninyo, Chairwoman, di ba dinanas na po natin to na biglang maka-announce ng shortage sa bawang. Ginawa na rin yan sa sibuyas. Ginawa na rin yan sa rice. Kaya ipagpaumanhin naman na po ninyo na talagang paranoid na kami. Nung in-announce na may shortage na naman sa baboy, eto na naman. Mag-i-import na naman ng katakot-takot.
Totoo yun. Totoo yun. Secretary Dar, magsalita ka. Sus Maria Jose.
Yes, ma'am. Can I have the floor, Madam Chair?
Yes. Alam mo, kasi tinitingnan ko yung ng prices. Parang ngayon lang biglang tumaas, di ba? Meron bang gumawa niyan para maka-import?
Hindi po, that's not related to that.
Kasi ang answer mo kasi importation. Huwag importation ang answer, di ba?
We are always guided by relevant facts and figures. So po, sa tariff, okay, let me start by saying, tama po yung direction po ninyo. Let's make the commodity industries very competitive. Yun palagi ang gusto natin mangyari. Now, between that, from now up until we are able to compete, then you have to balance all things. Hindi naman
Pero
pwede lahat
hindi sila makaka-survive habang sila ay nagiging competitive kung papatayin natin sila. Like a rice farmer, we did magsasubsidy tayo, magtuturo tayo habang by exacting tariff. At yung tariff na yon ang gagamitin natin para gastahin na tulungan sila. Parang ganun yun. I-tariff mo yung imported, tapos yung tariff na yon, yun ang pang-subsidize mo sa mga local para after a while, magiging competitive na sila. Diba? So, tariff is very necessary. Hindi naman sila nagagalit sa importation. Ba't lagyan mo ng tariff? Lagyan mo ng tariff. Tapos yung debone na yun, alam ko sa food processor lang yun eh. Hindi naman yun para sa lahat ng import eh. para lang doon sa nagawa ng mga ng mga delata. Minsan kasi sila rin yung i-smuggle o nag-i-import tapos dinideclare nila sa 5%. Alam naman natin lahat yan, hindi na lang tayo nagsasalita kasi nakakahiya. We are talking about graft and corruption in public. Ako kasi nahihiya akong pag-usapan yung graft and corruption in public. But hindi naman lahat tayo alam natin yan eh. Yung mga private sector, alam yan. Kami mga senador, alam namin yan. Ikaw, alam mo yan eh. Oo. Na gimmick yan eh. Ayoko na lang magsalita kaya ako yun ang na magpasa na lang ng batas para once and for all tapusin na tong problema na to kasi kung magpag-uusapan natin ng graft and corruption, napipigil ba yung graft and corruption?
Madam Chair, ipagpatuloy ko lang kung pwede po.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, Senator Binay, Senator Amy, ang perfect model po sa self-sufficiency dito sa atin ay yung itlog. Kasi po, kaya lang ngayong itong taon na ito nasa obrahan. Kasi po yung mga nalugi sa broiler, nalugi sa baboy, lumipas sa itlog. Kasi ang katwiran po nila, wala kasing importation na itlog. Kaya may laban sila.
Mababasag.
Hindi, tsaka kaya may laban sila, kaya sila mag-produce. Kaya lang, dahil nga po...
natin sa mga tao, kaysa kumain sila ng baboy, kumain na lang sila ng itlog. Diba? Para hindi na magka-shortage ng baboy, di ba?
Pero Madam Chair,
mag-import ng itlog.
Mababasa.
Pero Madam Chair, dahil hindi din kami nakonsulta, ang SRP na itlog na 650, mataas. Kasi po ngayon mababa ng presyo na itlog dahil ang daming ahon ng production.
Ang daming na...
Totoo. Yun po ay binubunga na hindi nagkukonsulta. Yung sa broiler po, masyado mababa yung kanilang pinepeg na SRP sa itlog.
Ba't hindi kayo mag-member doon sa kanilang, meron silang private sector government na na committee, 'di ba? Ano ba 'yung Secretary Dar? Ano tawag mo doon? Agricultural, fisheries and yung inyong combination ng private sector and government. Ano po 'yon?
Meron ma'am, Philippine Council on Agriculture and Fisheries.
Ayun, dapat mag-member kayo para palagi kayo nakukonsulta.
Member po kami ma'am, pero hindi din kami nakukonsulta. Member po kami noon.
Bakit hindi tinatawag lahat para nakikita niyo yung
namin alam.
opinion ng private sector?
Hindi nga ho namin alam. Nagugulat na lang kami pagka nagbigay ng NDA ng SRP dahil nagtatanong kami, nakonsulta ba kayo? Nakonsulta kayo? Wala po nakonsulta sa amin. Kahit tanong nyo sila, Congressman Nicky Briones, sila Sendo.
Sumulat po kayo sa Secretary Dar,
SRP.
tapos sumulat kayo sa akin, tapos ako ang magpo-forward kay Secretary Dar kung itinatago ng kanyang sekretarya yung mga letter nyo. Hindi ba? Bakit hindi makakarating? Kung talagang may sulat, baka may sinabi doon sa sekretarya, wag mo ibibigay itong mga letter na to kay Secretary Dar, di ba?
Madam Chair, nag-petition pala yung DA, nag-petition ng DA to lower the tariff of rice, yung outside...
Hindi. Over my dead body.
And,
wala namang rice shortage Talagang pinag-i-import naman sila I mean, ba't nyo ba pinag-iinitan pa ang rice? Ang rice nga ang saving grace natin ngayon Di ba ang wag na yung rice, wag nang pakialaman yung rice.
Pati yung pork and chicken from 30%, ginagawa nilang 5%, tsaka yung 40% sa 15%. Petition by Agricultural Secretary William Dar.
Oo. Ano ba naman yung 5%? Parang lokohan hanggang end of 2022, mamamatay naman po kami.
Alam mo, Secretary Dar, tingin ko in unison ang Senate, ayaw nila yung pagbaba ng tariff na yan. I mean, that's the only protection of the local farmers from imported. Hirap na nga sila, papatayin mo pa sila, pabababain mo ang tariff. Gumawa kayo ng ibang paraan para hindi mag-inflation. Ngayon lang naman, January yan, tinitingnan ko yung November, hindi naman O bakit biglang January? What's so important about January na biglang nagmahal? Eh wala naman nangyari ngayon January. In fact, kung magmamahal, dapat December kasi Pasko, maraming bumibili ng pagkain. Eh ngayon January, parang bumalik na sa normal ang pagbili like November eh. O, ba't magmamahal? Di mo manipulate yan.
Madam Chair, tapusin ko na lang. Total na andyan sa tarif. Yung yung kamukha nito, yung pinag-uusapan sa MAB, yung minimum access volume, mas mababa po yan kaysa dun sa out quota. Pero ang mga consumers po, walang pakinabang dyan at nawawalan po ang gobyerno ng taripa, ng excess pa, yung tax collection.
Allowed silang mag-import pero may tariff. Yun ang ano.
Pero ibig ko sabihin, yung MAB po, yung nag-i-import po sa MAB, yung binebenta po naman nila sa merkado, hindi naman mas mababa, pareho din eh. May kita lang po na extra, yung nag-i-import through MAB.
Baka naglabi.
Ng gobyerno at hindi rin nakikinabang yung consumer.
So, Mr. San Diego, hindi kayo siguro naglabi.
Hindi. Mahirap po mahirap po maglabi sa ganyan. Pero lalakihan po yung MAB
Maglabi.
Pagkatapos may outflow pa.
Okay.
Hindi,
baka
ganito
tayo
po.
patayin na ni Secretary Dar.
Hindi, ganito po. Kaya hindi na po kailangan, yung katwiran po kasi ng DA na hindi papayag ang WTO na itigil muna importation. Ang commitment ang commitment po lang natin sa WTO, yung MAB. Ang MAB volume po ng chicken, 24 million lang. In-import po natin last year, 402 million.
Kaya nga. Dapat malaki ang tarif, di ba?
Tapos, lalakihan po natin ang MAB, di ang makikinabang po lang yung MAB holder, hindi naman po magbe-benefit ng consumer.
Hindi na. Saka problema din yan, pag import na yan, mag-underprice, di maliit din ang another problem pa yun, bukod dun sa mababa na tarif.
Mawawala pa po ang gobyerno.
Anyway, may we recognize na Secretary Mr. Ordonez, dating Yusek Ordonez. Sige. Yusek Ordonez, you're mute. Yusek Ordonez.
Yata bago si Ernie. Ako ho yata.
Bong Insyon nga pala. Yeah. Sige.
Ma'am, magandang tanghali po. Una, nagpapasalamat kami doon sa tulong nyo last year. Kanya lang, hindi napakinggan ni Secretary Dar. Una ho, yung comment lang ho doon sa first border, baka ho mabudgetan nyo pa. Mali ho yung design ng Department of Agriculture na gagawin 5 po yung facilities all over the country. Parang ginawa ho yung 5 yung pwedeng pasukan ng sakit. Sa Indonesia ho, ang pagkaunawa namin, sa Indonesia, isa lang ho. Ang first border facility, isang port lang. Mas malaki.
Kasi dito sa atin, ang island natin, grabe. Siguro at most, dapat may Visayas, may Mindanao, may Luzon. Kasi grabe ang ating Kasi pag binaba mo doon, tapos dito mo dinala, ang mahal-mahal. Kasi dito, ang problem ng transport, mas mura pa daw yung taga Mindanao dalhin sa Japan kesa dalhin sa Maynila yung Hindi ko naman maintindihan yun. Ewan ko kung cabotage law yung mali, di ba? Pero sabi nila, mas mura pa daw sa mga taga Mindanao dalhin sa Japan kesa dalhin sa Manila. There's something wrong, di ba? May cartel din sa shipping, di ba? That's another problem. So kung ililimit mo naman sa isa, paano dadalhin sa Mindanao at sa Visayas? Yung dadaan dito. So siguro minimum yon 3. Isang Visayas, isang Mindanao, isang Luzon. So magbantay doon sa Bisaya, yung mga taga Bisaya, yung magbantay sa Mindanao, mga taga Mindanao, at kayong taga Luzon, dito kayo magbantay sa Luzon. Diba? Kasi grabe rin yung ating transportation cost dito sa Pilipinas. Yan ang complaint nila. It's cheaper to bring the products to Japan than to bring the products from Mindanao to Manila. Paano naman nangyari yun? Diba?
I leave it to your good judgment, ma'am. Kanya lang, ang point naman ho ng first border ay quarantine. Kung bibigyan naman ho ng tao na tama, baka po pwede yung 3. Pero yung 5, malabo ho yun.
O di tatlo, minimum tatlo. Wala naman silang pera. Kami naman maglalagay sa budget eh. Nilista ko na para make sure na nasa budget yung next year.
Tapos ma'am, kung po pwede, pondohan nyo rin yung, yung implementation ng sections 38 to 45 ng ACMA.
Ano yun?
Sa National Information Network, yung data system. Kasi ma'am, pumasok po tayo sa WTO, pre-trade. Ang pre-trade doon nag-work ma'am kung may data, may information. Ang nangyayari ho ngayon, bulag ho ang lahat. Importer ka man, producer ka man. Nagkakagulatan ma'am eh. Kung po pwede ho, mapondohan na ho yung National Information.
Sino ba gagawa noon?
PA ma'am. 23 years na yung batas na yun ma'am. Hindi pa nila ini-implement.
Ano title noon? Yung APMA. APMA.
Agriculture Fisher ACMA ma'am.
Ano yung APMA?
Modernization ACMA.
Okay, APMA.
Kasi nasa design po yan ng entry natin sa WTO eh. Kung free trade tayo, kailangan may data and information network tayo. Otherwise ma'am, sobra-sobra yung magiging decision sa production, sa importation, magkakagulatan yan ma'am. Yun naman ang nangyayari ma'am. Kaya maya't maya may oversupply or undersupply. Tapos ma'am, kung po pwede, yung MAB ma'am, kasi lalo na sa chicken ma'am, kasi yung sa original commitment natin sa WTO, nag-equal na po yung inside and outside MAB. In short, wala na hong MAB sa chicken. Ipinipilit na lang ho ng DA na may MAB para ho maiwasan yung special safeguards duty. Kung po pwede ho, i-abolish na. Actually, kahit sa baboy, pwede na rin abolish yan kasi yung sa baboy, ang pumasok last year is 256 million kilos. Yung sa manok, 402 million kilos. Yan ho kasing minimum access volume. Yan ho ay protection para sa mga exporting countries para tiyak na may i-import. Sobra-sobra naman po ang ating ini-import. Hindi na ho kailangan yan. Tapos itong proposal po ng DA na expand yung minimum access volume ng pork, kinakabahan po kami dyan dahil ang ulat po sa amin, meron silang nag-resign yung dating head ng Minimum Access Volume Committee. Ang ipinalik po nila ay si Mr. Jane Bacayo. Si Mr. Jane Bacayo, ma'am, abogado po yan at veterinarian. Wala pong kumpiyansa ang sektor dyan. Tinanggal po yan ni Secretary Alcala noon because of the advocacy of the sector, of the poultry and livestock. Ang sama po ng itsura tuloy ni Secretary Dar na parang bakit naglagay all of a sudden itong tao na ito na hindi pinagkakatiwalaan ng sektor at inilagay po sa expansion sa MAB na ini-expand nila. Alam nyo naman po yan, quota ho yan. Kahit sinong ekonomista magsasabi naman na ang quota very graph-ridden ho yan, susceptible to graph. Tig piso na lang ho, di 162 million. Sa 10 piso ho, di 1.6 billion. Kanya hindi ho tama yung expansion ng MAB. Tama po yung instinct po dyan ng mga senator.
May nabasa ako sa newspaper, chismis. Hindi ko na malaman kung sino sinasabi nila. Yung daw natanggal ng previous secretary, ibinalik ni Secretary Dar, yun natanggal dahil sa graft and corruption. Nakaano yun kaya nga tinatanong ko yung aking chief of staff, sino ba tong mga ito na ibinalik na charge ng graft and corruption sa previous administration na ibinalik mo daw Secretary Dar, kasi hindi ko naman alam yung mga natanggal nung previous kasi nasa mga baba. So nakalagay po yon chismis yun dun sa yung mga may mga marami daw tinanggal nung previous previous secretary na binalik mo daw ngayon, kaya yun natanggal because of graft and corruption. Oo. So, hindi ko lang kilala kung sino yon pero naka-chismis dun sa nabasa ko lang.
Can I give you the information, Madam?
Yes, okay.
Alam po ninyo, hindi po ang Secretary ng Department of Agriculture ang na-appointing power, presidential appointee po. So pag dumating
pero wag mong payagan na gumawa sila ng mga ruling na hindi maganda para sa ating industry. Okay lang silang ma-reappoint kung gusto ng presidente, pero wag ka pumayag na magro-ruling sila ng ganyan. Kasi alam mo naman yung mga ganyan, yan ang pinanggagalingan talaga ng graft and corruption. Common sense naman yun eh. Oh. Kahit na presidente nag-appoint, pigilin mo sila. Tapos isumbong mo sa presidente. Nakasulat eh, nakakahiya eh. Tinatanong ko nga sa chief of staff ko, sino ba itong mga sinasabing tinanggal for graft and corruption? Ibinalik na naman. Pagod na rin ako. Mahirap magbantay din sa agriculture. Akala nyo ba? Kaya napansin nyo, pag sumusulat ako ng batas, nakalagay kung sino mag-i-implement, magkano i-implement, para pag nagkaroon ng kalokohan, alam ko kung sino hahanapin. Kasi pag mga yusek-yusek, di mo malaman kung sino nag-implement. O ito, may agency eh. Sabi ko, pag kayo nagloko, ididemanda ko kayo. Alam na alam ko kung sino mag-i-implement. Katulad nun sa Coco Levy, bakit daw ang daming agency? Mabuti nga yung maraming agency kasi hindi lahat na agency matino. Di at least kung 10 agency may nag-perform na 5, malaking bagay sa coconut industry kaysa ibigay mo sa isang agency na walang pinerform, patay ang coconut industry, di ba? O ibigay mo ang ano tawag doon? Ibigay mo yung planting sa PCA, o ibigay mo yung processing sa PhilMec, o ibigay mo yung intercropping sa high value crop, ibigay mo yung scholarship sa CHED, ibigay mo yung vocational school sa TESDA, o di 10 sila, ibigay mo yung ano tawag dito, infrastructure sa DPWH, bigay mo yung loan sa bangko. O, di kung merong mapalpak na 5, may 5 pang nag-perform, di merong nangyari. Kasi ang hirap nung sa iisa mong agency ibibigay, tapos napalpak, wala nang nangyari. O, at saka kilala mo kung sino mag-i-implement. Kaya pag hindi na-implement, may sisisihin ka. Hindi yung ibigay mo sa isang department na hindi mo malaman kung sino nag-implement sa department, nagtatago. O, alam nyo, mahirap talagang mag-oversight din. Mahirap. Kaya ako, sinasabi ko sa sila may problema ngayon. This is the first time na nagka-problema talaga ang livestock and poultry. Kasi ang livestock and poultry, private sector led yan. Kaya hindi ako worried dyan. Kasi ang private sector, alam nila mag-manage ng business. Alam nila, they can take care of themselves. Except nagka-ASF. Yun ang naging problema, yung ASF, hindi ma-solve. So ngayon, bigla akong naisip, talaga nasa ano ko yan, nagagawa ako ng batas to benefit the livestock and poultry. Inihuli ko kasi parang sila ang walang masyadong problema. Ngayon, sila na ngayon ang malaki problema. So, hinihiling ko sa industry ng livestock and poultry, magbigay kayo sa akin ng mga study, ng mga opinion, para babasahin ko, para makita ko kung ano gagawin natin para makagawa ako ng batas na matulungan kayo. Oo, kasi baka sakali, di ba? That papuwersa ang DA na bigyan kayo ng ganitong programa every year hanggang makarecover kayo. Kasi pag nasa batas, they have to implement it. Kasi pag budget lang, taon-taon nagbabago yung budget. Pero pag nasa batas, na inilagay doon na taon-taon bibigyan kayo ng ganito, they have to follow it because it is a provision of the law. Oo.
Madam Chair?
Yun siguro pwede nating gawin para ma-solve natin towards the long run ang problema ng livestock and poultry. Yes, Senator Kiko.
Yes, just very quickly dun sa sinasabi ni Attorney Insyong. Kung maaari lang, meron bang position paper ang inyong organization tungkol nga dun sa MAV at yung Mr. Attorney Bacayo? Kung pwede isumite sa atin para mapusisi din natin.
Kasi ngayon lang po, ilang araw po lang namin nalaman pa na nag-resign po yung dating tinalaga tapos nilagay po yung Mr. Bacayo. Okay. Nung malaman ho namin, gulat na gulat kami at kinakabahan kami kasi kota ho yan Kota ho yung ma'am.
Sige.
Kaya nga ho, gusto namin abolish na lang ho yan
Kaya nga, mag-position paper na lang tayo.
Kasi, yes, ma'am.
Yes, if you can
Ma'am,
submit
yung
so that
po
pwede
pwede
natin
po,
mapagdala.
sasama ko rin to sa position paper. Kasi nung hindi tayo pinagbigyan ni Secretary Dar nung last year itong sa suspension ng importation, ang sinasabi niya, wala siyang clear authority to suspend. Baka ho po pwede maglagay ho ng maliwanag na batas giving clear authority to the Secretary of Agriculture pag may oversupply which threatens the long-term stability of a particular industry, lalo na yung may mga breeder operations. Clear yung authority niya to suspend yung importation. Kasi halimbawa ho
So
ngayon,
kaya nga po ang sinasabi namin sa inyo, sinasabi po namin sa inyo, wag nyo sabihin, put it in writing. Kasi pagkatapos ng hearing natin to, pag hindi nyo nilagay in writing, makakalimutan na yan, di ba? Pero if you put it in writing, pagsasama-samahin namin, and maybe we can study a way by which to correct these many things, di ba? Pag-aaralan namin. So, lahat ng stand nyo, ilagay nyo in writing. Oo. Kasi ang hirap maalaala lahat ng sinabi nyo. Oo, sige. So there is another, we will hear from Mr. Ordonez. Ordonez, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ours is already in writing. It was given yesterday. It is the result of an emergency meeting in the face of the agriculture.
Wala pa ka sa amin yun. Hindi ko natanggap yun.
Yes, but I'd like to say the 2 points very related to this. The first point is garbage in, garbage out. You're correct in asking for the methodology, but if garbage is coming in, the outcome is garbage out. Let me inform you that the Price Coordinating Council, where I'm a member, and which I used to co-chair, it was stated clearly that the information being gotten by agriculture was wrong. And therefore, I'm informing.
Which one?
You know, they said at the time that the farm gate coming in was about 190, no? It is said today that it is now 130 to 185. But, you know, you've got to understand, you tell Metro Manila, you don't talk of prices outside. And the farm gate given, recorded in Price Coordinating Council and studied by us, and we've been at it since 2003, is that it is right now 250 at the farm gate. It doesn't mean we have to follow that, but you've got to understand that. Therefore, I'm informing you right now that the new price was done again without consultation. I mean, when you said it today, you saw the leaders, namely Mr. Chen, Mr. Briones.
Pero nagtataka lang ako dyan sa prices na yan. Noong December, November, hindi ganyan yan. Ngayon lang January yan. What's wrong with January na biglang nag-spike?
Well, it is of course profiteering. In other words, 400 is ridiculous, and the highest is 400. It should go down. The minimum they said is 330, no? But I'm just telling you that if the people in this hearing, who are the leaders, kept on saying no to the price they heard, the new price is also wrong. the new price is 280 to 310 is still wrong. So what am I saying? The first point of our position is we must do private sector consultation. It was done with eggs. It was done with chicken. It's not done with the tariff reduction just proposed. It was not done with the MAV. It was not done. All right? It was not done. Therefore, we do it. Okay? In fairness to Secretary Dar, maybe his bureaucracy is not serving him well. But they must have this private sector consultation, because I'm informing you that that new price was also done without consultation. It is still wrong. Okay? Okay.
So please send us your study.
Okay. Yes. Okay. The second point, it's already published in court last week. That's a minimum price. All right. The second point is this: the tariffs coming down. What is this? In addition to everyone talking what they're talking about, I'd like to say this, no? The tariffs are supposed to protect, as you said. What they're doing now, they're bringing down the tariffs. Fine. If bringing down the tariffs will allow people to come in, but they're coming in at those tariffs already cheaper than our product. Why must you bring it down further? You bring it down further, and what you do is you punish those already surviving. And with doing that, and it counts in many forms. First, tariff reduction. Second, MAV expansion. Third, the difference in the tariffs coming down. It is ridiculous. In other words, let us leave them alone. Let us not punish them so much. As you know, we, the Alianza, are really quite upset that the government has neglected us so many years. Now that we're in trouble, you can leave us alone, but you can harm us more. You're harming us more. If the government brings down the tariffs for importers who can make money, giving them more money, And as Mr. Santiago said, it does not translate anyway to the consumers. This is a double hit. So 2 points lang po. The first point is that we must have private sector consultation. To go to this new price was done again without private sector consultation. So you see the people here saying, oh my God, they changed it, mali pa. They didn't talk to us. And that happens everywhere, okay? International Trade Committee has not met the whole year. Okay, we used to meet 4 times a year. They didn't even meet once, all right? And now they're doing this and they didn't even talk to us again. So first one, private sector consultation. If you want oversight, you got too many things to do. We recommend that you do oversight on changes on international trade, such as the setting of prices, the tariff reduction and all that. Because if you did oversight, you would ensure that before this came in, the law is followed. What's the law? The law is what you talked about today. There has to be private sector consultation. It was not done. Not on tariffs, not expansion of PAV, not on the actual price, none. So if you want to do oversight, so many things to do, look at this and attend the hearings. They used to do that, right? Number two, that private sector consultation. Number two, the tariffs are going the wrong way. They're going the wrong way. Why don't you just leave us alone? We're already having trouble. Other countries subsidize. We don't, okay? So we're getting it, all right? Okay. But they're coming in at profit. They're not being stopped. What you want to do is bring it lower to get even more people to come and kill us some more. This is totally ridiculous. So the bottom line is only 2 things. No? Private sector consultation on everything and oversight that it's not happening. In fairness, Secretary Dar, his people maybe are not telling him, like those prices. There is someone, his official, who said that actually 200 pesos is wrong, all right? Maybe, I said, why don't you tell Secretary Dar yourself? Why don't you tell us? It was in the Price Coordinating Council. It's on record.
But in fairness to the senators, I think we are one in saying that we are not in favor of tariff reduction and MAV expansion. I mean, pagbasa ko pa lang, alam ko na. And then that's the press release of other senators. So you can, na kami sa Senado, hindi kami payag dun sa tariff reduction and MAV expansion. I-allow nila yung mag-import but with tariff. Oo, para may laban naman yung ating local producer. Yun lang ang hindi kami guilty niyan.
Yeah, but oversight, you can insist that the private station should be done.
If they will listen to us, my God.
And Secretary is, influenced people. Maybe his people are not serving him well, okay? So I'm saying that. And finally, just for you to know, I was, of course, the secretary and undersecretary. I know international trade. Madam Chair, I'd like to let you know, I won cement safeguards. They're very rich, all right? And I won it. I was president of ASEAN and Philippines. I left them, I came here, I found that in broiler, using the same laws, there is import surge. There's damage in your law, you can do it. They've not done it. That's what I mean, oversight should come in. They're doing it, they gotta go faster. We can do it with current laws. Number 2, this is very dramatic, you should take this out. If a chicken leg is 100 pesos, okay, and a chicken thigh is 200 pesos, and you have a back, which is maybe 20 pesos, it's 220, correct? Okay, maybe you cut it, that costs 60 pesos, okay. So less than 220, maybe 160. Do you know that they're selling the leg and the thigh and the back cheaper than just the leg and cheaper than just the thigh? That is definitely anti-dumping, okay? And we've not done anything. In other words, Madam Chair, we must talk to private sector, okay? International trade, we have the best guys there. We have not even met once. I've been asking for this. We got to meet, right? And I want to favor what Mr. Dar said. Private sector, let us follow what he said. It's not just being done, Mr. Dar. So Mr. Dar, I think you'll support us. He did us the last time. Let's do it. So, Madam Chair, that is our unanimous.
Okay. So you just send us your position paper, and the last to be recognized is James Chan from the Meat Importer Association.
Madam Chair, just very quickly lang,
Yeah, Kiko. Senator Kiko.
Just a point of information, yung binanggit na attorney Jane Bacayo, chinek po natin, siya po ay sinibak noong 2012 dahil sa allegations of meat smuggling bilang head ng NMIS. So ngayon siya ay in charge ng ASEF Fund Management Program at concurrent na MAV committee. So Baka dapat malaman natin kay Secretary ano ho ba ang punot dulo nito at yung dating sinibak dahil sa allegations of meat smuggling.
Pinapoint pa Secretary ni President, hindi ikaw. Mr. Secretary.
So ay si President lahat.
Director pataas. Maybe you can inform the President.
Baka dapat, Secretary, ipaabot natin kay Pangulo na ito nga ang track record nito at nag-aalma ang sektor. Ang sektor pala na umalma nun ay ang sektor ng hogs, chicken dahil nga sa smuggling. So ngayon, siya ngayon ang in charge din sa MAB. Ano hong mangyayari dyan? Baka naman ho tuloy-tuloy. Hindi natin alam, no? You are presumed innocent, pero wala na bang ibang pwedeng i-appoint dyan at yung mga nasasangkot sa ganitong klaseng mga kontrobersiya ang pinapasok, lalo na ngayon, naghihirap ang industriya. January ata 2021 ito, kaya nabigla nga, according to Attorney Insyong, nabigla nga sila. So maybe this can be relayed to Malacanang, ang concern nito.
Okay, so we recognize James Chan from the Meat Importer Association.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair, distinguished senators and cabinet secretaries. Thank you for having me. I'd just like to make a few points. First point is that the import volume of pork and poultry versus local production is still very low comparatively, because this would be less than 20% of local production. That's the first point I want to say. The second point is that the MAB system was put in effect since 1996, and the licensees have been working in that system for 20-something years. So these are not new faces. These are mainly established importers for many years. And now for the MAB expansion, we have recommended to that this will be implemented on a first-come, first-served basis. So it will not be exclusively controlled by the existing licensees. Now we know that last year already some pork growers have already imported, and now if other pork groups want to import them, they can come in under the first-come, first-served basis. My third point will be that there is a way to do transparent and safe importation of meat, because as Secretary Dar has said, the smuggling occurs outside of the legal importation system. Smuggling happens mainly in undocumented importation. It is not the legal imports that are causing the problem. Now, with regard to about the safe and reasonable transparent importation, maybe 6-7 years ago, we already partnered with the DTI to conduct invoice verification, so that suspect invoices that are suspicious looking as far as value is concerned can be referred to the DTI, and they can check the value, the authenticity of this invoice. We have a standing offer to the Bureau of Customs through DTI to reestablish, to set up this verification system again, but we have not heard back from the Bureau of Customs. With regard to the price of the production, especially for the hogs, I just checked the USDA website, and the latest figure from January 29 is that the average price of the live pig is 49 cents per pound. So that's maybe $1.10 per kilo. So their production cost is like 55 pesos, 60 pesos per kilo. Now that is a competition that our hog industry has to go up against. Now I agree completely with what Chester said, that there has to be a commensurate reward to their risk. So when they say they want to add 30%, 40% more, I mean, sure, that's fine, that's reasonable. My problem with that is that it is reasonable, but it is not affordable to most of the consumers, and that is the problem. So we need to find a way to resolve that situation. With regard to the reduction of import duty, so now we heard that the MDM has been reduced to 5%, and now the Department of Agriculture is asking for the reduction of pork to 5% for the next year.
Huh?
What I would say
No, no, we're not asking for that.
what I will say is that as far as MDM is concerned, unless we see that there are serious attempts to establish the production of MDM, then you will have to be prepared to extend the tariff, the low tariff, more than for another few years. And with regard to the pork production, we have.
Can I intercede? You said that their production cost abroad is very low, so they can afford tariff and still be competitive here in the Philippines. Why will we bring down the tariff? Kahit nalagyan sila ng tariff, competitive pa rin sila. Kasi sabi mo sa akin, 70 plus, di ba? Oh. Kahit lagyan ng tariff, competitive pa rin dito sa Pilipinas. Why will we bring down the tariff? Parang pinukpok mo na yung local producers, sinaksak mo pa. Ang mura pala sa kanila, di lagyan natin ng tariff para pagdating dito, mura pa rin, pero competitive sila, di ba? Oh.
As I said, I gave an indication of the production price for the price for the pound.
Kasi yan din ang nakita ko doon sa study na nabasa ko 70 plus eh. Oh, kahit daw mag-tariff 102. Tapos may hindi ko lang ma-understand kung magkano yung transportation cost and all that. Pero competitive pa rin sila kasi mas mababa pa rin yun sa ating local, di ba? So, why will we bring down the tariff? Competitive naman sila kahit na may tariff sila sa local. Oo.
Well, I said that is the price of the live hog, but when they cut up into parts, and then
Yeah. So, please give me your study so I can study it. Kasi yun ang nakita kong study eh. Sabi ni Senator Amy, para daw, sabi ng industry, mali daw yun, under declaration daw yun, and so forth. Pero yun din ang sinasabi niya eh, na amount eh. Yun ang nakita ko doon sa study eh. So we don't have to bring down the tariff because they're still competitive even with tariff. So, kasi kung 72 ka, kahit ka may tariff, parang 102 nga after the tariff, and then may transportation cost, di naman, di ganun pa rin, makakalabang ka pa rin, di ba? Mas mura pa rin eh. Oo. Kaya nga, we have to help the local para maabot din nila yung competitiveness na yun, di ba? Okay. So maybe Mr. Chan, you can give me your position paper kasi I think we have to go. I just want to collect your position papers. I'll give it to the senators so we can study all the position papers and then we can call another hearing, di ba? Para tayo na what should be the short term and the long-term solution to this problem. Siyempre, short-term, kailangan gumawa ng policy para bumaba ang presyo. Pero I think this is artificial kasi tinitingnan ko noong December, November, di naman ganito, ba't biglang nagkaganito? Ano nangyari? Di ba? Maybe, Secretary Dar, you should look at that. Kasi tinitingnan ko yung November, December, hindi naman grabe. Ngayon lang January, grabe. Hindi naman pwedeng yung cost of production biglang nag-increase ng January, di ba? Oh, there's something wrong. And then, baka artificial to, di ba? And then we make policies that will solve artificial problem. Di kung may gumawa nito, di tuwan-tuwa sa atin kasi nagtagumpay sila, di ba? So,
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just very quickly, ma'am.
Yes, Senator Kiko.
Yes, before, very quickly lang, ma'am, kasi nabanggit kanina yung usapin na nung mataas na presyo ng fertilizers. So meron tayong communication pinabot sa atin. We will forward it to Secretary Dar so that he can answer it in writing and then explain sa next hearing, ma'am.
Okay, sige.
Just for the
So
record.
we will give the letter to Secretary Dar and he will answer. Maybe he can answer it in writing also, so we will be furnished a copy. Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Mr. Congressman Briones.
Madam Chair, nandiyan pa po naman si Mr. Cham. Sinabi niya yung production cost. Pwede po ba pakisabi niya kung magkano yung ini-import nilang karne sa iba't ibang bansa sa kasalukuyan? Kasi yung po 76, hindi po tayo naniniwala doon eh. Pwede po pakisabi, Mr. Cham, kung ano po yung presyo ngayon ng ini-import nating karne?
Can you answer that, Mr. Cham? Mr.
Yes,
Cham?
Yes, ma'am. Pinaka-latest po itong mga deal mga consummate latest for a carcass. Okay? Ang presyo ko pong nasabi kanina po ay the price of a live hog sa USA. Now, I'm talking about carcasses from Europe now. So, okay, they have different production costs, and of course, they have different values of their parts. So, the price of a carcass today, cut 6-way, kumbaga isang baboy na wala ng ulo, tanggal ulo, na biniyak, naging dalawang parte, dalawang side, at each side, ginawang 3 piraso, isang shoulder part, isang middle, saka isang leg. Ang presyo niyan is about mga $2.60 to $2.80 today. Yung po ang presyo.
$3, $1.50.
$2, 2.6, 2.8, banda, it's in that area po today.
So, malinaw na yung nadi-declare last year ay napakababa. Yung sinasabi ko, mukhang may undervaluation, Madam Chair. Pangalawa, Madam Chair, yung pong price ceiling mukhang na-implement, meron ng order, ako po yung nangangamba na napakalaki na idudulot po niyang problema. Pagkat yung pong galing ng Visayas, Mindanao, hindi na po makakarating ng...
310, hindi ba kaya ng 310? Nakalagay doon 180 sa kanila.
Hindi po, kasi pagdating po dito sa Manila niyan, 250 na. Pagkain niyo pong kinatay, sabi tulo, 310, 320 na po ang puhunan. So pag sa retailer, supposed to be, yung pong pwede, baka po yung 330, 360. At wala pong consultation yan, ma'am. Malinaw na siya ay naglagay ng presyo, inirekomenda niya kay Presidente, nang walang consultation po sa amin. Yun po nakakalungkot. Lahat po ng kanyang solusyon para dito sa ating problema ay parusa po sa amin. Yung pong price freeze, yung pong zero tariff, yung pong pag-aalis na pagdodoble ng MAB, ay nakakalungkot po. Parusa po ang kanyang sinasabi. At marami na po, lalo at titigil. At pag yan pong ASF, ma'am, ay hindi na pigil. Yung sinasabi kong 10,000 per head na dapat bayaran, hindi po mapipigil yan. Mauubusan po ng baboy ang Visayas at Mindanao. Sigurado po, mas magiging malaki ang problema natin by next year. Itong taong ito hanggang next year, Madam Chair.
So, can you please document what you're saying so we can give a copy to Secretary Dar and we will get a copy and we'll read all of them and then we'll call another hearing kasi para makita ni Secretary Dar para siya ay makapag-prepare sa another hearing kung ano ang mga compromise na kailangan nating gawin para ma-solve natin yung ating short-term and long-term problem. Kasi ang long-term is the fate of the pork industry and short-term is yung ating yung ating high prices, di ba? At saka yung mga policies na ginagawa ngayon. So, yun lang po. Yes.
Bali, si Rosendo ito, no? Kung pwede lang, yung price support na 30 pesos na sinasabi natin, yung transpo, ma-implement na kasi kung na-implement yung presyo rito sa Metro Manila, natatakot ako. Walang darating na baboy rito sa Manila.
Pero nangako si Secretary Dar. Secretary Dar, nasan si Secretary Dar na wala na? Secretary Dar, di ba nangako ka na with that price, magbibigay ka ng subsidy sa transport, di ba? Because that would be the solution na yung Visayas Mindanao, bigyan natin ng subsidy sa transport, di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Yun lang ang compromise natin. In the meantime, yung Visayas Mindanao, bigyan na lang ng transportation subsidy. Kahit na mababa yung kasi nilabas na yon, Magbigay kayo ng transportation subsidy para ma-soften yung Visayas, Mindanao.
Last point din sa Bayanihan 2, may ano lang ako. Kasi yung
Magre-report sila doon kasi yung ni-report nila very tawag doon hindi detalyado, tapos 25% lang ang nai-implement nila, tapos wala tayong makitang doon para sa ASF at saka sa livestock industry. So magbibigay daw sila ng bagong report and then we'll do it in another hearing. Okay.
Yeah, kung pwede lang cash yung ibigay na sa farmers dun sa fertilizer. Kasi nag-bid ulit ng December, overpriced ulit ng 100 pesos. Yung Region 3. Pangako sa amin ni Secretary.
Tumulat ka na lang, tapos i-forward natin kay Secretary Dar para next time may answer siya. Di ba? Isulat nyo na lang. Yes?
Just to add dun sa nasabi po ninyong magbibigay ng bagong report ang DA, kung maaari rin ipaliwanag yung gaps at ano ang recommended solution sila, bakit mabagal yung release at 25% pa lang.
Kaya nga, we have to hear it again with their new report kasi yung old report hindi maganda, 25%. Baka naman may bago silang report. Plus, i-explain nila yung kanilang program kasi wala akong nakitang program that will solve the problem of ASF at saka yung repopulation at saka maraming wala eh.
At siguro ma'am, recommendation paano mapapabilis dahil
yes.
yung 25%.
Yeah, sige. Secretary Dar, I hope you can make a new report on the what you call this Bayanihan 2 to Recover Act, di ba? Kasi masyadong hindi maganda report yung ni-report nyo sa amin na binasa namin eh. Ha? Okay. So with that, thank you for coming.
Ma'am, one more.
Yes.
Ma'am, kanina just one more, nabanggit ni Secretary Dar na yun na nga, nakakakita sila ng profiteering. In the next hearing, we would like to know what cases should be filed and with whom and to whom so that talagang ipakita natin na ginagamit natin.
We're serious about fighting this profiteering. Okay. Kasi parang tingin ko, Secretary Dar, there's something wrong kasi nag-spike lang January eh. What made na nag-spike ng January? December dapat nauna na nung December kasi malaki ang demand nung December. Tapos nung November, wala naman, di ba?
Hanggang 1 million ang pwedeng i-fine ng DA sa mga profiteering. Kaya nandyan sa batas po yan. Gusto natin makita yung aksyon na merong minumultahan, pinapaliwanag. Yung mga nabanggit po kaninang nagpo-profiteering.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Last na lang ako connected din sa Bayanihan. Narinig ho ba ng DBM yung buong pondo for DA?
Secretary Dar, na-release na ba yung buong Bayanihan for you?
Yung funds from DBM.
Yung 24B?
The last release was done on the yung MMR po, yung last release early second week of January.
Magkano ni-release, last release, magkano yon?
5 billion po.
So, na-release na ang 19 before that?
In staggered schedules.
Yes. So, maybe you can report now better kasi doon sa iyong 25% baka it will be better. Okay? So, we will wait for the report. Thank you. Release na by January.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Sige. So, thank you for coming and please submit all your position paper, your report, and then we'll schedule another hearing to analyze yung inyong mga position paper and the new reports of Secretary Dar. Thank you very much and good afternoon. Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair.